Good morning, everybody. Welcome into our Football Friday show. Big Eagles game on Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys week, but is the rivalry dead? But nonetheless, it's an important game for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't want to say that it is a must-win because the Eagles can lose this game and still win next week, win the division, and be okay headed into the playoffs. But for me, it's an extremely important win. Take care of business on Sunday, lock up the NFC East, make Week 18 meaningless so you can build in a little bit of a bye week for not only your quarterback, who's coming back from a concussion, but how about that defense that's played a lot of snaps, specifically on the defensive line? So not a must-win, but an extremely important win nonetheless. Let's take care of business on Sunday. But we got a fun Football Friday for you. No Mike Missanelli today, but we got Amy Fadul for all 4 hours. What's up, Amy?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. And my man Ray Dunn is back after leaving us hanging yesterday with a vacation day. The goal on this man to take a vacation the day after Christmas. What's up, Ray?
Yeah, sorry I enjoyed today. My bad. That's on me. I'll be better in the future.
With his family, too. I mean, you believe this guy?
Yeah.
Spending the day with his family yesterday?
The nerve.
The
Unbelievable.
nerve. Well, I did miss you, Ray, and I know our audience missed you as well. But we got a fun show planned today. It's Football Friday. We got Nick Sirianni coming up at 11:40. Hopefully we'll get some news on who the starting quarterback is going to be on Sunday, although it's looking more and more like it's going to be Kenny Pickett. I'd be shocked if it's Jalen Hurts, but we'll find that out at 11:40. The news at noon is back with Ray Dunn at 12. We're going to do our NFL picks segment, so Amy's going to get involved on the NFL picks. I've been on fire, Amy. I'm just telling you, 33-14-1 this season. I will take it. I wish I was betting bigger money. I'd be better off. And then Tim McManus from ESPN will join us at 1 o'clock to preview this game. All right, let's start. Eagles-Cowboys. I know the must-win thing gets thrown around a little bit too much. And if the Eagles lose this game, I'm not going to say they can't win the Super Bowl because of it. So that's why I'm not declaring it as a must-win. But I do think it's extremely important.
I mean, it kind of feels like a must-win.
Especially with the way last season went.
I think that's it. It's not just the way last season went. It's the way the last game went, the way that you finished out against the Commanders. It's like, I get, like, on paper, yes, it all is not lost if they don't win the game because the division is still there. They can still get positive momentum going into the postseason. But seriously, you don't want to lose to this stinking Cowboys team, not after what happened last week and not after what happened last season. So I just think that, yeah, on paper, no, it's not technically a must-win, but you better win this freaking game.
It's not a must-win, but win the freaking game. There it is, Ray. Quote that. Not a must-win, but win the freaking game. Yeah, you know, let's start with last week because you're right. One of the major concerns coming out of last week was this defense. This defense that had been so dominant in that 10-game winning streak to then fall apart the way they did in the fourth quarter against a rookie quarterback and not only fall apart on the field between the whistles. Fell apart after the whistle.
Yeah.
Right, doing stupid things. And I want to see them play with that energy. I want to see them play with that aggression, but you got to keep it within the rules.
Yeah, I mean, you want to play like and I think that this defense has had a chip on its shoulder in a good way because even at the start of the 10-game winning streak, they weren't playing particularly well. They did okay, but they've really come into their own. There was like a 6-game stretch. You thought, wow, that's when they went up from like 20th to like 15th, and then they kept climbing on defensive rankings. But they really came into their own, and maybe they started to, kind of puff their chest out a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is a difference between cocky and confident. And I feel like maybe there was a little bit of like, hey, we're not going to let this team beat us. And the frustration obviously poured over. Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. I think it's a little bit disconcerting as an Eagles fan. You're like, oh, wait, the Commanders, Washington finally has a quarterback. It's been decades, it feels like, down there. But you can't let him do things that you saw them do as far as just the little teeny mistakes that then led to the frustration and then it snowballed, which I understand, but you can't let that get the better of you. And it did.
No, you can't.
And it wasn't just one guy. It was a bunch of guys.
It wasn't. And then, I know what some people are already thinking because I see him in the YouTube chat is, well, you have a head coach that doesn't control his emotions. And now there was that story yesterday that comes out, which really, to me, it's a non-story. It is a non-story. We talked about it a little bit on the air yesterday. I had not seen the video yet, but the story came out from Jeff McClain yesterday that Zach Ertz and Sirianni had to be separated post-game by Big Dom. Then the video came out, and it's even more of a non-story.
But it's just like, to me, it was a story in the fact that at the moment, if you had heard about it that day, you'd have been like questioning Sirianni. Like he called back. Obviously, he lost his, I don't know, cool, composure, whatever you want to call it.
That doesn't sound like Nick, though, does it?
The word, when I read what he said to Zach Ertz, and I thought, well, that's a low blow. Like, that's a low blow.
I'm the dumbest coach in the world.
Come on, Ray.
It was a low blow, but he obviously thought better of it. And for anybody out there that hasn't had a moment where they've said something that they didn't really think it through, then you're a liar, right? So it's obviously on a grander scale, but I was like, all right, we're not going to make this that big of a deal. It happened. I'm sure he regrets it. He clearly did. He called Zach Ertz. It's done.
Yeah, he apologized because of who it was. Zach Ertz, obviously. You
just don't need to be saying that to me, personally, you can't be saying that to any player. I don't care if it's.
Yeah, but you know what? I hear what you're saying.
Like
but
if Zach McPherson comes over and he's like, oh, a good game. Well, you didn't play at all. What's wrong with you?
But here's what
Sour grapes.
But here's what I think happened.
You didn't do anything either.
My understanding of what happened was Zach Ertz comes over to shake his hand. Sirianni's not really in the mood, but then Ertz gives him a high five. And I guess Sirianni interpreted it as him taunting him a little bit. He slapped his hand really hard or something, and then Sirianni jaws back.
Okay, but how old are we?
I know, but
again, the thing's water under the bridge at this point. Like it happened and whatever.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
The whole thing is just silly.
I mean, Zach
I love
Ertz.
that we're talking about grown people.
Grown men, I know. Zach Ertz said it.
High-fiving and not high-fiving.
Zach Ertz said after he thinks it was blown out of proportion, and I think it was as well. But look. This is what it is with Nick Sirianni, and
right,
and
that's the thing.
Ray can attest to this because Ray's wasn't a huge Sirianni guy. The moment he sees this, what's the first thing that comes to your head, Ray? When you saw this story yesterday, what pops in your head?
Act like an adult, man.
Yeah,
please grow up.
The Colts game.
I'm begging you, just grow up.
Now this is where I always make it about my other favorite coach, Dan Campbell.
Oh. God.
If Dan Campbell would have done this, people would have been like, oh, yeah, I love the aggression that Dan Campbell brings.
I don't think Dan Campbell's ever said something about a player not doing anything on the field.
Well, we don't know because it's not become a story. But with Sirianni, it becomes a story as to what happened. Look, if he felt that the player was taunting him and he jawed back, we've seen this happen before postgame. Look, Jim Harbaugh and Jim Schwartz almost got in a fight when they were the Detroit Lions and the 49ers. Same situation. Harbaugh comes and slaps Schwartz's hand a little too hard. Schwartz jaws back, and then they got to be separated.
Not a bar you want to set on. Harbaughs are crazy.
Very true.
They're
Very
crazy.
True. Good coaches, though.
Okay, they're crazy, though. Like, that's like saying, like, oh, yeah, no. The
Also,
Harbaughs did it. Okay, well, those guys run through a brick wall.
Your grand example is from the time that Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers and Jim Schwartz was still regarded as a head coach in this league.
I mean,
it's been a minute.
Stop hating, Ray.
Jim Harbaugh is a lunatic.
He is a lunatic.
He's a lunatic.
He's a very strange dude. But see, here's what's happening. I got a guy on YouTube. I'm awake, are you? You can't defend Sirianni anymore. It's over, dude.
Now that's not. See, that's where the extreme is.
Goes a little farther, too. Your coach is garbage. Your coach is garbage. Stop protecting your baby. Like, the guy wins tons of football games. Yeah. This is the thing with Sirianni.
His record is unreal. That should be the reply to everybody. Listen,
his record is good.
He has clownish tendencies when he does things, and I'm like, that's like clownish behavior. Don't do that.
Funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you.
I'm just like, don't do that.
Ray missed the drop board while he was off, so he's playing with it.
I love it. The clown one's a good one.
Well, look, if you want to weigh in on the Sirianni thing, if you want to weigh in on it, you can get in 610-632-0975. But to me, it's not a story. The bigger story is this is an important football game for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Must win.
On Sunday. Amy's calling it a must win. I'm not going as far as saying must win, but it's an extremely important game to win for the Philadelphia Eagles. But then that brings us to, is there a path that the Dallas Cowboys could upset the Philadelphia Eagles? Because the line opened up at about 10.5. Then it went down to 9.5. Yesterday it got as low as 6.5. Now it's back at 7.5.
Yeah, it'll hinge upon whoever the quarterback is. You'll see that thing move again.
So we don't know if it's going to be Pickett or Jalen Hurts. But what we do know is that it's going to be Cooper Rush, not Dak Prescott, for the Dallas Cowboys. And a lot of people, if you haven't been paying attention to the Dallas Cowboys, you're just thinking back to when the Eagles played them the last time, and they held the Cowboys to 6 points. They had to pull Cooper Rush in the third quarter for Trey Lance, almost like a mercy rule. They just waved the white flag. But after that, they played the Houston Texans, and again, they didn't look great offensively, only put up 10 points. But in their next 5 games, so in their last 5, Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys have won 4 out of 5 games. They're averaging 27 points per game. So I don't think this is going to be as easy as maybe some people are assuming, because as soon as they see Cooper Rush, he stinks. The guy's playing pretty well.
He also had CeeDee Lamb for those games.
That's exactly what I was going to say next.
He does not have that's a nice person to have on your team if you're looking to score points.
Yes.
And get yards.
Wait, now, is that Ray trolling me on the board, or is that Austin in the back trolling me on the board?
Yes, she'll have to investigate that.
Don't say that.
It says on the board, should we be scared of Cooper Rush? 610-632-0975. No, but I do want to hear from the listeners today. How important of a game is this? Even though it's probably going to be Kenny Pickett, based off of what happened last week against the Commanders and really what happened at the end of last season, and then you factor in, do you want to get some rest for your starters next week? How important of a game is this for the Eagles to take care of business against the Cowboys? You can get in by phone call or by text, 610-632-0975. You got Bill, you got Amy, you got Ray on this Football Friday. So keep it right here.
Happy holidays from the Fanatic family to yours.
Hey there, it's Silvana Kelleher, producer of The Best Show Ever. I just want to wish everyone happy holidays.
Friday, everybody. A little bit of a weird week. Doesn't feel like a Friday. I felt like
Always the time between Christmas and New Year's Day is like, it's like a wasteland.
it's like a blur. Like everything's like a blur. And it's weird because it's a football Friday.
There's still lots going on.
It's Cowboys week.
But it's like,
The Eagles can clinch the NFC East on Sunday. I mean,
weird.
There's all these things.
I get the emails and it's like, here's the practice report. I'm like, oh, so people are still doing stuff. Okay, good to know. All right. Locked in.
Yeah, no, it is a weird week. I'll tell you, I don't hate the fact that there's no traffic coming in every
Oh,
day.
that was really nice.
I was just flying right in, flew home
I had
yesterday.
time to stop by and get a cup of coffee for Ray, though I don't think I got the order correctly.
You got it very correct.
Supposed to get
It's
a
very
cappuccino.
good.
You're spoiling him, though. See,
Why
here's
wasn't
the
it
problem.
filled to the top?
I don't know, but it's okay. It's a good cup of coffee, and I
understand why they don't
appreciate it
fill
very
to
much.
The top.
Here's the problem with Ray, okay? He has been spoiled for years downstairs getting free
years.
coffee.
Acts
And
like my
now you're
career's
bringing
been
him
years
free
long.
coffee. Listen, I don't want you to think. Amy's
don't
with
know.
us on Monday as well. After that, no more free coffee for you,
I'll pick
Ray.
up I'll try to do a better job. I don't drink coffee, so I walked into the Wawa blind. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
This is going to force me to wake up earlier and just make the coffee myself.
Poor Ray. He's got to wake up early. Anyway, I'm happy that Ray's back. I don't want to make fun of Ray too much today because I missed him immensely yesterday. So I'm happy to have him back. But it is Dallas week, and that's the crazy thing because you don't feel that buzz. And a question that that came up was we were talking a little bit off air. Like, is the rivalry dead? Is the rivalry dead with the Dallas Cowboys?
See, no, because you just always hate them. But yes, it's dead in the fact that you don't regard them as like a real threat. And I think that's inherent with a rivalry. You have to be like, oh, well, they're the ones that are coming for us and we're always chasing them. They're always chasing us. I don't know that you feel that, but it's still the Cowboys and you still hate them and you want to beat them. So that makes it.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
You do hate them. You do want to beat them. But on this game, this Sunday, even if it's not the Cowboys, the reason we're saying it's important is not only the way last game went, not only the way last season went. I think what makes this game the most important, I want Week 18 to mean nothing.
Right, exactly. You want a bye week, an extra bye week.
And I think they need that bye week. See, what I think we're forgetting, because it just happened so long ago, their bye week was Week 5. And when the schedule came out, I looked at all of the prior Super Bowl winners. None of them had a bye week that early. In a 17-game season especially, I do think it's important that they're able to get some rest for these players. Like Jalen Carter has already played more snaps this season than Fletcher Cox played all of last season, and he led the defensive tackle room with snaps. I don't want to see him hit a wall. You need Jalen Carter. He's probably the most important player on that defensive side of the football. So get the win this weekend. Rest all your starters next week. And I know people, as soon as I say that, well, what if Saquon's close to the record? Do you rest the starters next week?
No. Come on.
I don't think there's a chance.
Well, he needs, Andrew DiCecco and I were talking about it. He needs like 130-ish this week in order to set himself up.
Well, he needs 268 total, right? So if he
you want to split the difference.
Yeah, if he could have another 150 game, now he would need 118 next week.
Right.
Did you see Eric Dickerson weighed in on this?
I didn't.
So I kind of like Eric Dickerson because I remember when Adrian Peterson was also close to breaking it.
Do you remember when Eric Dickerson was on television?
No. Was he good?
No.
Was he good? But I remember he came out when Adrian was close.
Say no.
And he said he didn't want him to break it. Well, he came out. He was asked about Saquon Barkley. And this is what Eric Dickerson said. I don't think he'll break it. But if he breaks it, he breaks it. Do I want him to break it? Absolutely not. I don't pull no punches on that. I'm not whining about it, but he had 17 games to do it.
I mean, he's got a point.
Yeah, but you know what he's not saying in there? When he beat O.J. Simpson's record,
exactly.
he played 2 more games than O.J. did.
O.J. did it when he was at 14 games.
Yeah, O.J. did it in 14. But see, I love this, that he's not taking the politically correct, records are made to be broken. No, I don't want him to break
it.
To
me, I get that. It's your record, but at some point it's going to be broken. To me, that's a little sour grapes. It's like when the 72 Dolphins start popping champagne. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Calm down, old people. Like,
calm down, old people.
Stop it, okay?
I kind of like it. I mean, look, if we're being honest, deep down,
honestly,
you wouldn't want it to be broken.
Of course, you want your name up there. You want that. Everybody's got a little bit of ego, some more than others. And Eric Dickerson wants his name still in the pantheon of the record books.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
But he wants that asterisk by there in case it is.
Yeah, the asterisk.
There's not one by him.
No, but because nobody would remember in a few years, because we had a caller last week call up too and say, the record wouldn't mean the same because he did it in more games.
People don't remember that.
Nobody remembers that Dickerson did it in 2 more games than OJ.
No.
So in a couple of years, no one would even remember. I just don't think it's going to happen. And
it's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to ask.
Well, because the problem, though, Amy, is if they do go for the record, and we talked about this a little yesterday, me and Andrew DeCecco, if they go for the record, you'd have to play everybody.
Yeah, it's not like, and so that's what I was talking about this too. Like, it's not like you could just put in Barkley.
No, you
got to
line
it,
and you maybe need Jalen,
and you need to have your wide receivers in.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's not like it's kind of like a disingenuous game plan if you're trotting out Johnny Wilson over there and Britton Covey. And it's like, oh, yeah, no, that's the same as Devontae.
No. You'd have to roll out. You'd have to roll out
everybody.
By the way, speaking of having to play everybody in that offensive line, did you see the nice Christmas present that Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley bought the offensive line?
They should.
Ray, did you see that?
I did.
So, yeah, I thought it was nice that usually you see the quarterback.
They always get these great gifts, I feel like.
But usually it's like the quarterback gets it. I thought it was nice that Saquon got involved.
Running backs, I feel like, are
really
always,
they do it too.
Yeah.
So they gave him if anyone.
Saquon's was good.
There just hasn't been a lot of money in that market for them to be buying those gifts.
Well, they still get like Rolexes stuff. Looks like
that is a good
like
point.
A car.
Good point, Ray.
I want to feel bad for the running back.
For anyone that didn't see it, everybody on the offensive line from Jalen and Saquon got personalized golf carts. These things looked awesome too. They looked like they were like souped up golf carts with their names on it.
Yeah, there's I think they're street legal.
Oh, yeah, so you need a license plate on that thing.
Yeah, I think so.
I see them down the shore a lot, like in Ocean City.
Some of those will have they'll have seat belts.
Yeah, they have seat belts. You got to get the license plate. Yeah. But a little warning, you still can't drink and drive because if they're street legal, you can't be drinking and driving either.
Correct. Well,
that's
I think
our PSA
anything on
today.
the street, you can get a DUI on a bicycle.
Yes,
can you?
Yeah.
I think you're right on that, actually. You can get a DUI.
She is right on that one.
I mean, I am right on
Ray
that.
knows from personal experience.
Whoa.
No, she's right on that.
Absolutely.
I would say no.
All right, Ray, since I took a shot at you, you said somebody texted in praising you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think this is going to even out to what you just accused
Yeah,
of.
that's strong.
I want to be very clear on that one. No. That did not happen.
Absolutely.
All right, good to hear. Who's praising you?
We got Mike from Boothwyn. Check it in. Ray is my spirit animal. Act like a big boy, Nick. Everyone makes mistakes, but he seems to have to put his foot in his mouth every week. Go Birds.
Look, he has been better. I don't think he's been putting his foot in his mouth every week. He has been better. People just can't wait to latch on to something to get on Sirianni for.
Or champion me. I think that text was more about championing.
It was.
I know. I ignored that part of it, right? Let me ask you, do you think that people's reaction to this story about Sirianni and Ertz would have been different if it wasn't Ertz? If it was somebody else? Like, what if it was CeeDee Lamb? Would people have been upset if he went back at CeeDee Lamb and said, you only had one catch, shut your mouth? I don't know if that's what he said, but something along those lines?
I think it would. I don't know if you would have been as angry. I just thought it still would have been unnecessary. I just feel like you're the head coach. Why do you even talk? Why would you even trash talk another player?
He's a fiery guy.
And also, you didn't play in the NFL. You know how many catches you have in your career?
Yeah,
Zero.
he played Division III, Amy. Come on now.
As if I forgot.
Some of the best athletes in the world have played Division III football.
If Dan Campbell says that, I don't know, might have been like, all right, well, at least you played.
You know, I played Division III football. That's why
I do. But you didn't play at
What?
You didn't play at Mount Union. So.
No, I did not. Mount Union was a powerhouse. All right, well, look, it is Football Friday. I do want to talk about coming up next. I don't see a path for the Cowboys to win this game. I don't think they have the firepower offensively, but there's something that they have been doing the last 4 wins that does have me slightly concerned. I'll explain when we come back. Keep it here on this Football Friday.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Rapping for Dallas, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is driven by Is Gary Barbera the best boy? I guess. Vote for our man Brandon Graham and Coach St. Nick picks Barbera. Gary Barbera has one more thing to say. Happy holiday. The Eagles are getting set to host the Cowboys on Sunday at 1 o'clock. There's a good chance this weekend will feature both the team's backup quarterbacks, with Cooper Rush continuing to play for the Cowboys and likely Kenny Pickett getting the start for the Eagles as Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol. Nick Sirianni spoke with the media yesterday and reiterated just that.
He's in the concussion protocol, so not a lot I can comment on that. We'll get you an update after today.
Well, today maybe we'll get an update from Nick Sirianni as he meets with the media once again. This time at 11:40. We'll carry that live for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hurts isn't the only star that may have missed this one as well. Yesterday, the Cowboys announced that C.D. Lamb is done for the season, so they'll be without their top wide receiver. Elsewhere in Philadelphia, the 76ers with the biggest win of their season on Christmas over the Celtics. Now they're headed out west. First, it'll be a stop in Utah to play the Jazz. That game tomorrow. And then the Flyers right now are getting set for, Flyers coming off their little break. They will get a chance now to get back in action this weekend as well. This update's also brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. What are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com.
Missanelli. You still got Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn. And a special treat, Amy Fadul all 4 hours. Not only today, but Monday as well.
Monday, I'm back again.
So we'll be able to react to hopefully a big win by the Philadelphia Eagles, clinching the NFC East, locking in that 2 seed. There's still an outside chance that they could get the 1 seed, but unlikely. Unlikely. But this 10 o'clock hour is brought to you by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows, plus make no down payments with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. So I said before the break that I'm not worried necessarily about this Cowboys team. I think without CeeDee Lamb, that's been ruled out for the season. If you missed that news, no CeeDee Lamb on Sunday. They ruled him out with a shoulder injury. His season's over. So I'm not worried about them offensively. I don't think they have the firepower to keep up. But there is one thing that they've been doing very well over the last 5 games, and the reason they've won 4 out of 5. They have 12 takeaways in their last 5 games. That's number 1 in the NFL during that span. And when you have a backup quarterback in like Kenny Pickett, who we saw give up the ball last week to the Commanders that led directly to 7 points, that's, to me, the only way I see the Cowboys staying in this game is with turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And you saw that with teams that are borderline, right? If you can give – because even on their face, these are not good quarterbacks. There's a reason they're backups. But they're still functioning quarterbacks. And the offense, other than the quarterback as far as a backup, in this case Cooper Rush or Kenny Pickett, still have their other members. Now, the Cowboys don't have CeeDee Lamb. They had him for all of those games. But even still, they have other weapons they can use. And if you give them a short field, they should be able to at least get somewhere close. You really have to limit that. You cannot shoot yourself in the foot. You cannot give them any opportunity. And also, you want to go ahead and shut them down early. I think that's the thing with when you're looking at that, what you're talking about, that span. They've been able to jump on these teams early and kind of, then the teams are playing from behind, and that's not the position you want to be in at all. You don't want to be fighting for the kind of keep your footing.
Yeah, so we'll see what Cooper Rush can do without CeeDee, because you talk about having some weapons on that team. Like, their running back's playing pretty well over the last few weeks.
He's okay.
But they're just in the receiving game. Without CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys don't have another wide receiver or even a tight end that has over 500 receiving yards.
They're tight. Ferguson, terrible.
Well, I mean, they got Tolbert has 482, Ferguson 464, Turpin 351. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't have another receiver over 500.
Lamb. Yeah,
CeeDee Lamb is their whole offense.
Yeah, he's pretty much it.
So
It'll be interesting to see how they try to spread the ball around.
So I'm curious, though, if there's anybody who's nervous out there, because I said this yesterday, Amy, you weren't with us. On Christmas Eve, I couldn't get over how many people in my family came up to me and are worried that this is another late season collapse for the Eagles, predicting that they're going to lose all the games down the stretch.
One loss?
Yeah, one loss to the Commanders.
10 games.
So I am curious if there's anyone out there who is concerned about this team and this football game, because the Cowboys, they've played better. They're trying to save their head coach's job, which please do.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Please bring back Mike McCarthy.
That was the best news last year. You're like, no. What? They did it?
Yeah.
And you heard Jerry Jones last week singing his praises, and I thought, my goodness, let's just keep that rolling. If it was in Dallas, it might give me a moment's pause. Yeah, But it doesn't.
With Mike McCarthy, I don't know. What if you're Jerry Jones? If they win another game, let's say they lose to the Cowboys or lose to the Eagles, but then they win their last game of the season, they would finish the year 8 and 9.
8 and 9.
I think he's gone.
I thought he was gone last year.
I don't know.
I just don't understand how you could. But there's a lot of things that I know in life, and trying to get inside Jerry Jones' brain is not something I'm interested in, because I have no idea what goes on in there. Because there's no person in their right mind that has seen what Mike McCarthy's tried it out over now several seasons, and thought, yes, I just gave giant contracts to Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and you know who I want leading that team? This guy.
Yes, I know. Keep him there. Look, no coach in NFL history.
I don't know what you're thinking.
No coach in NFL history has won a Super Bowl with 2 different franchises. It's not going to be Mike McCarthy, so keep hiring him. That'd be great. That'd be great for the Philadelphia Eagles. But I am curious if there's anyone out there that's concerned at all about this game, and then on a bigger picture, this season. Because I still look at the NFC. I have the Eagles as the best team in the NFC. I don't see another team that's better than them. Now, there are teams that I maybe am concerned about having to match up with in the playoffs. Anything can happen in one game. But if you take a step back and try to look at it with Ray's favorite word, objectively, the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the NFC. And I still believe that even after what happened in the fourth quarter against the Commanders.
Okay.
You're not buying it?
No.
Who do you have as your best team?
The Lions.
Still, even with the injuries.
I do.
Even with their bonehead head coach.
Now, why is he a bonehead?
You don't know my hatred for Dan Campbell?
You hate Dan Campbell? This is a take.
With a passion. With a passion.
Why?
I think he is a terrible, terrible in-game coach. I think he makes awful decisions.
Wait.
Not aggressive decisions, reckless decisions.
And you love Sirianni. Do you remember the Jacksonville Jaguars game? Do you remember the Browns game? Let's talk about some in-game decisions that were questionable at best.
Don't look at me for support. We've already gone after him for this one a million times.
What in the world?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Dan Campbell. Look, Sirianni
I'm
this
sorry,
year.
that's it. I had not.
Nick Sirianni this season, especially early on, you are correct, made decisions in game that I didn't agree with. The Saints game, the Jaguars game. But before this season, I always felt like he was a very good in-game coach. I felt like the decisions he made, it was appropriately aggressive at times. I never felt like Sirianni's decisions bordered on reckless like they are with Dan Campbell, and he continues to do it. And one thing that I think Mike has been saying a lot about Sirianni and a lot of other people have been saying is over the last few weeks, he had appeared to grow. He has appeared to understand the situation. You have a good football team. You don't have to be reckless. Dan Campbell hasn't changed. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he's kicking an onside kick against the Buffalo Bills with 10 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
That lost him the game.
Yeah, he makes very questionable decisions. I think there's a lot of coaches there. There's been how many times there's 2 times now in 2 weeks in a row that I've seen Mike Tomlin punt, and I thought, what are
way
you
too conservative.
doing?
He did it against the Eagles, and they never got the ball back.
I was there.
Yes.
The murmur, so we were sitting, and there was a lot of Steelers fans. We were sitting, and when he punted, it was 10 minutes, and I thought, that's questionable. And the Pittsburgh fans all around was like, what does he do? I was like, I don't know. I don't know, sir. I don't know. It's very confusing. But yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sidetrack you. That was just an unbelievable take. But I think the Lions are a team that I think that until they really get owned, and they lose a bad game, that I can't take them. To me, it's probably 1 and 1A. The Eagles are right there, but I can't take them away from that top spot just yet.
All right. Well, since you brought up the Lions, let's take a look at kind of the playoff picture right now, because I have the Detroit Lions not even winning a playoff game this year.
Not a 1.
Not a 1. I have them as 1 and done. Now, they're going to get the 1 seed most likely, depending on what happens. I mean, they could still. The crazy thing is the Lions could still be a 5 seed.
I know. Because that division is bananas.
It's crazy. There's going to be a team that's 13-4.
Yeah.
That's a 5 seed, which is wild to me. But you got the Detroit Lions. They have a game this week. The Vikings have a tough game this week against the Packers.
Yes.
But if both of those teams win, Vikings-Lions play each other week 18. Vikings win that game. You're talking about the Lions being a 5 seed and the Vikings being a 1 seed.
Which is crazy.
But assuming Detroit gets the 1 seed, I have them losing in the divisional round because I think the Green Bay Packers would be the 6. They beat whoever the 3 seed is, probably the Rams. Mm-hmm. They go into Detroit. Lions lose that game.
Yeah.
I am predicting NFC Championship game at Lincoln Financial Field, Eagles, Packers. You're not going to have the Lions. Mark it down, Ray. Clip this. I'm predicting it. The Lions will not win a playoff game this year. And all you Dan Campbell lovers out there are going to call me up and say, Bill, you were right. Because you know why they're not going to win? Because he will make a boneheaded decision in that game. I am convinced of it. The guy has not learned a damn thing. And all that bravado and we're going to bite ankles and all that crap, that's all it is. He's Hulk Hogan. WWE should hire him.
I feel like if he was coaching you at Division III, you would think he was the greatest coach of all time.
See, I don't know if I would. Like that type of coach doesn't necessarily resonate with me. Like I'm more of a guy, I want to be able to talk to him and maybe Dan Campbell's great behind the scenes with his players. I mean, the players do seem to love him.
They do seem to like him very much.
They do seem to love him, but I don't like his in-game decisions. I don't like that he hasn't learned from anything. But anyway, curious to everybody out there, we got another game this week. I'm looking too far ahead.
I do like the idea, and I think that it is possible for the Birds to host. I think that's a real possibility for the Birds to host the NFC title game. I think that is a real possibility.
That would be great if that was the case.
I don't think that that's completely out of the realm.
But before we get there, they got to win the NFC East.
And I think you really have to win this. I know you're not going to call it a must-win because of the way everything can line up, but why are you taking any chances? Win while you got a chance. And you said, it's funny, when the schedule came, we were here this summer, the schedule came out, and week 5 bye, and everybody's like, oh my God, that is the earliest bye. It's terrible. Turns out it was actually the perfectly timed bye for this team because they needed that reset button.
10 games in a row after.
Yeah, and you're thinking that can't be good, and it was for them. But at this same, you still need a reset button before you head into the postseason for various things. Obviously, to get everybody rest. Jalen Carter, you mentioned, I think is a really good example of that because we saw him and some of the other guys hit that kind of rookie wall, so to speak, last year. You don't want anything like that to happen. But also just you need to be as healthy as possible. No one is healthy this time of year, but you want to have as close to 100% because when you look at when the Birds go to the Super Bowl the last 5 years, they've been one of the healthier teams, and that is imperative.
Yeah, so take care of business this weekend. So we want to hear from you. It's a football Friday. It's Cowboys week. I know it's a weird week because of the Christmas holiday and Hanukkah and everything that happened this week, but it is Cowboys week. So I want to hear from you what your predictions are for Eagles-Cowboys on Sunday. Let's go to the phones. Hopefully not too many mad elves for Greg. Greg from Bethlehem on the Fanatic. What's up, Greg?
Hey, good morning, guys. Happy holidays. I have 2 questions. First and foremost, I wondered if Ray had cracked into the Mad Elves yet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we enjoyed the Mad Elves on Christmas Eve. Don't you worry. They're very good. Very good, Greg.
In your honor, too, Greg. How about that?
Well, I'll take credit. Maybe I'll talk to the company and they'll give me a commission.
Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe we get them as a sponsor on the show. We'll see what happens. But what do you got? You have some concerns for Sunday, Greg?
Well, my other question had to do with the weather and the fact that I'm sure Dallas is going to try to limit Saquon and force us to throw. And throwing and catching in the rain is difficult at times. And I just wondered if you thought that was going to influence the game plan at all.
Yeah, appreciate it, Greg. I looked at the weather. I guess they're calling for showers early.
Yeah, and then late.
But I don't know. They may have a window at the 1 o'clock time.
We're back talking Phillies. We're looking for the window.
Yeah, the window.
We're looking for this 2-hour window. Yeah, I think I saw that too. I tried to do the hourly. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be rain in the area. I don't put a lot of stock into stuff like that just because these are NFL teams. It's not like it's their first day. It's not like Cooper Rush's first day, and he's going to have to adjust to the weather on the fly.
One of the things I brought up.
It does change your game plan a bit. But
maybe a little bit. I mean, the one thing I brought up earlier is
60 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's not going to be cold. Is the takeaways? You know, the takeaways could be an issue. Does this result in more turnovers? I mean, hey, maybe Kenny Two Gloves is going to have a good day because the gloves will help him hold on to the football. Ray doesn't like the 2 gloves for Kenny Pickett.
No.
But it's not a good look.
Now, I don't think so. You're right, though. When it's not that cold out and we're just talking about some mild showers, I'm not expecting.
These guys are used to that.
I'm not expecting too much. But I will say, when Greg talks about the game plan, I don't want to see them do what they did against the Commanders. I don't want to see them come out with heavy personnel, 2 tight ends, and allow the Cowboys to just load the box to stop the run. Spread them out a little bit. Let Kenny throw the ball a little bit. You got to keep this defense honest. There's a reason why they were able to, talking about the Commanders, shut down Barkley in that second half. They knew there was no other threat.
Yeah, and that was it. I think you have, right out the gates, I think you have, 15 scripted plays. You go to the air, at least half of those. At least half. Set the tone and get those guys involved because, like you said, I'm not always looking for a deep route. You don't always have to have that, let's go, the go ball. But give me a little something to have some positive yardage. Get them, the defense, meaning like a little bit off track, and to keep them, it's all about keeping them guessing. You have to keep them guessing and making sure that they just don't think, all right, well, it's just Saquon because you're trying to get in the record, and that's all we're going to do.
Yeah, and I think they will. Look, when you come into a game expecting Jalen Hurts as your starting quarterback, and then he only plays 5 minutes,
right?
You don't have the same.
Yeah, that's a pivot on the fly.
Yeah, it's a pivot, and you don't have a quarterback that has the same ability. Now, I'm assuming, even though they haven't told us, the Eagles know it's going to be Kenny Pickett, right? I mean, they're trying to have this competitive advantage of not releasing who the starter is on Sunday, but I strongly believe
it's Ian Book. Anytime you can get a chance to sign a player, that's what you do. That's what the head coach told me.
Yeah, it's it's a
what he told me.
competitive advantage. I had people tweeting at me yesterday about Sirianni, like, for some reason, he's my coach because I've defended him every time.
You have a song about
yeah,
him.
For some reason.
You have
I don't know
song
why,
about
Ray.
him.
I don't know why, but for
You're
some
gaslighting
reason,
our entire audience right now.
for
You know
some
that,
reason,
right?
he's my coach.
He is.
No, but when everything, it's funny though, and I agree. I've defended him. I do sing a song about him. But when
I'm the smartest coach in the world.
when he does anything, my Twitter blows up of people tagging me. And
Hell
yesterday, he didn't reveal any information about the quarterback, and I get tweeted at like, "Can you tell your coach to stop being such a clown show and just tell us who's going to play quarterback?"
Now that goes to the fact that he has kind of poisoned the well against himself. Every other head coach kind of operates under that same kind of guise. They don't give you a lot of information. We were joking before the show, and I felt like that Kellen Moore already talks like a head coach because he doesn't give you anything.
Yeah.
And that's what you're used to. If you look at the head coaches around the league, they give you like a little teeny nugget, and that's about it. Like, go to any other successful head coach, their press conferences. There's no information that's really given. Not inherently. It's probably true for all sports, really. But because Nick Sirianni is kind of already he's never won the press conference ever.
It's 2 words: competitive advantage. If
That's
he
right.
just stopped using it, it'd be
Right.
so much easier.
But why?
I mean, it goes from from the beginning when he was hired.
But why
one
does
of
it
the
bother?
worst press conferences?
Why does it bother people
'Cause
that
they just
he would
can't.
not reveal yesterday who the starting
'Cause they
quarterback?
want
Doesn't
him
bother
to
me
be
at all.
somebody different.
No, it doesn't bother me.
Right?
They
I
want
mean,
him to be
there is a
somebody
competitive advantage in it. If you're the Dallas Cowboys defensively,
They
and
know
now
that-
you have to prepare for both quarterbacks that do different things that have different skill sets. Of course, there's a competitive advantage.
I think that there's a little disingenuous nature to it because it's not like Jalen Hurts is dealing with an ankle and he could or could not go. Concussion protocol is pretty much written in black and white. You know it. Like he'll come out and say today because he has to, but we knew that yesterday. The writing was on the wall. So the competitive, I think that's where it's like, all right, if he was dealing with like, oh, maybe like, I don't know, his ankles, he can try to go hamstring, whatever it is, but it's a concussion protocol.
It is. It's the concussion protocol, so they got to get through it. And we'll find out today. Sirianni's going to speak at 11:40. We'll carry that press conference. I don't know if we'll get the information from him then, but certainly after practice when they have to put out. Yeah, they got to put out the final injury report. So by 5 o'clock, we'll know if it's Kenny Pickett or Jalen Hurts. Let's see. I want to see if the line has moved at all because it's been all over the place.
7.5 is what I saw.
Is it still 7.5? Let me see. Yeah, it's still 7.5. It's interesting that Vegas has to think it's Kenny Pickett, but yet they still got the Eagles favored by 7.5. Tells you a lot.
It does because there's really not a lot on the other side. No CeeDee Lamb is really going to keep that line a decent, I think, a touchdown.
By the way,
Close to.
there is a battle going on in our YouTube chat. So Chris Miller has been coming after me, calling me the biggest homer on the station, which is funny because a couple of weeks ago I was getting killed for being too negative, but that's fine. But then my wife is defending me in the chat. So now we got Bridget and Chris having a little battle in the chat. I love it. It's all good. It is all good. But he is my coach. Chris said, just admit it. He's your coach. I've defended him.
Hell yeah.
And, I mean,
all fertilize.
Are we
So
really
much
at the
good.
point, though?
Dog mentality.
Ray missed the buttons. Ray, are we really at the point where people are going to attack me about the head coach who's led this team to a 12-3 start and possibly the NFC East Championship again and Super Bowl contenders? We're going to attack me for defending this guy? You wanted him fired? Are we going back to that?
We spent 5 minutes in this segment of you trashing Dan Campbell, who all he has done this season is win. Yes, you could take it from that side.
How many
as well.
Super Bowls has Dan Campbell been to?
Oh, good.
What happened in the NFC Championship game last year with Dan Campbell? Did he not single-handedly lose that game for the Detroit Lions? Single-handedly. It is very hard for a head coach to make multiple decisions that lose you a football game, and Dan Campbell did it time and time again in that game, and he learned nothing from it.
There was a football player who's paid to play the game of football that dropped a pass, a very easy pass.
I don't want to hear it, Ray. Bad decisions.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. There's no other side to the Dan Campbell one, but there's another side to your Nick Sirianni homerism. Huh?
All right, well, I want to get some more
Christmas
calls.
with him. Did you enjoy it?
I did not. I want to get some more calls of people. We got some people on the line. You can get in. I want your predictions for Eagles and Cowboys on Sunday, 610-632-0975. I'm also going to give Ray an opportunity to come at me because There's just a shtick on the show that I'm not very intelligent, which I don't understand where this comes from, Amy.
You say some things that we question.
Yeah, I don't get it. But something happened last night.
It's your worldliness, maybe not intelligence.
I was watching a documentary last night with my wife. Something came up, and I said, oh, is that what that means? So I'm going to ask Ray and Amy if they knew this, and I'm praying to God that I don't get killed for being dumb. But we'll get into that coming up next.
Dumbass question.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Repping for Dallas, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Got a leaky pipe, having issues with your heat? At Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the block with everything you need to fix it. They've got the pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. Eagles getting set. Host the Cowboys on Sunday at 1 o'clock. There's a great chance this weekend's matchup will feature both teams' backup quarterbacks, with Cooper Rush continuing to start for the Cowboys, and likely Kenny Pickett getting the start for the Eagles, as Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol. Nick Sirianni spoke to the media yesterday and reiterated just that.
He's in the concussion protocol, so not a lot I can comment on that. We'll get you an update after today.
We will keep you updated if we get anything. Of course, Nick Sirianni speaks to the media today at 11:40. We'll carry that for you live. Hurts isn't the only star that may miss this one. Yesterday, the Cowboys announced C.D. Lamb is done for the season, so they'll be without their star wideout in the game on Sunday. Tim McManus of ESPN will join us at 1 o'clock to break down everything going on with this matchup. Elsewhere in Philadelphia, the 76ers, coming off their biggest win of the season, beating the Celtics in Boston on Christmas, are now headed out west. It begins out in Utah. Saturday night, 9:30 start for that one, 76ers and Jazz. And the Flyers also headed out west. They've got the Anaheim Ducks Saturday at 4 o'clock. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Can you feel it?
The Eagles are back to being Super Bowl contenders.
This team's got a real shot.
So many reasons. Show. You got Bill Colarulo, Amy Fadul, Ray Dunn on this Football Friday. We got Nick Sirianni coming up at 11:40. We'll have our NFL pick segment at 12:30. I've been on fire. Curious to hear who Amy Fadul's picking this weekend. Some good games.
There are some good ones.
And then we'll have Tim McManus from ESPN at 1 o'clock. But we're breaking everything down for you. Eagles and Cowboys. I want to hear from you what your predictions are. If you have any concerns about this game, obviously the biggest one, who's going to be your quarterback? I think it's pretty clear it's going to be Kenny Pickett. We'll know more today. But you can get in on that conversation, 610-632-0975. But before the break, I said, there's a funny shtick on the show, and it's only a shtick. It's not reality. Then I'm dumb. Ray, you would agree? It's just a shtick? Ray? Ray? So
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What'd you say?
So I'm watching the documentary last night with my wife, and it's actually really good. It's the Apollo 13 survival documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
Have you seen this?
I have not.
So, if you've seen the movie, it's
Yes.
the documentary basically about the movie, but they use real footage and all that, and it's entertaining, very interesting show. But something happened on it where they use a term, and I said, oh, is that what that means?
Oh, no.
They called the astronauts Astros. And I said, wait a second.
Oh, did you just now figure out where Houston is and why they're called that?
Yes.
You're kidding.
And I
Stop
said
it.
to myself, wait a second.
Stop it.
That's what the Houston Astros are named after?
Stop it. Stop it. Stop.
And my wife told me, don't
called-
admit that on the air.
Why did you think they're called the Astros?
I had no idea. I had no
works
idea.
in a very interesting way.
I had no idea that the Houston Astros was short for the astronauts.
Do you
because
understand?
Houston, we have a problem.
You understand why Houston you understand why Houston?
Yeah, because that's where the space station is, or whatever. Not the space station, but NASA's headquarters are. So
shuttle control. Yeah.
Yeah, shuttle control and all that. And it hit me last night. I go, oh my God, the Houston Astros.
That's amazing.
It's short for astronaut.
That's amazing. I feel like we could have a whole segment on why teams are called what they're called with Bill Colarulo.
Is there anybody else?
Amazing.
Oh, come on. I need to know. Hit me up on the text board, please. 610-632-0975. Is there anyone else out there that didn't know the Astros were basically named the Houston Astronauts? Does anybody else? Am I the only one, Ray?
Is there anybody out there? Anybody out there at all? Anybody know?
Like, even if you didn't know that they would call them Astros for short, just the fact that Astro means star, right?
Yes.
With the stars.
But I didn't put two and two together that it's because, yes, Houston is
it was a
where
cool name.
the NASA control station is or whatever.
I feel like we need to ask more questions. Like, do you know why the Lakers are called the Lakers? What the origination is of that?
Because didn't they?
Used to be in.
Yeah, they used to be where? In Michigan? Minnesota?
The land of 1,000 lakes. Minnesota, you got it.
There we
Land
go.
of 1,000 lakes.
There we go. Are there any others that we know why they were called what they're called?
Why are the Utah Jazz called the Jazz?
I don't know.
They used to be in
New Orleans?
Yes. The home of Jazz.
There we go.
Here, let's try and make this a little bit easier. The Colorado Rockies. Why are they called the Rockies?
All right, I know that one, Ray.
This is amazing. I just think that I guess you just never. I would give you one morsel. I think you just probably never thought why the Astros were called. You never considered it.
I never thought about it. Yeah, I never thought
about it. The fact that you said that out loud, I would have given anything to be a fly on the wall.
Oh, but it was funny, though, because I said to my wife I was going to bring it up on the air, and she's like, don't. They already call you dumb. Don't do it.
Why?
Wait a minute. The Astros in Houston? Houston, we have a problem?
Yeah, see, I'm just confident enough to admit these things.
You're a lawyer.
Okay?
You obviously are smart. You've gone to multiple years of school. We appreciate that. And you took
Thank you.
You took tests after school.
You're not here.
Good job.
You're not here.
Thank you, Amy.
I listened to it.
And you know what
You're
else?
not
I'm
here every day.
You know what else I'm smart about? My opinion on Dan Campbell. And Bob from Pemberton wants to disagree with me here. What's up, Bob? You're on the Fanatic.
First of all, I never thought about Houston. Why would they call the Astros? So I'm with you.
There you go.
Right, thanks, Bob.
It never occurred to him.
Yeah, it never hit me. And then when
Bob,
I did, I'm like,
But you're not surprised, right, Bob? Astros, it makes sense.
No, I'm not surprised. I never thought about it. Now I have to disagree with you. Remember that press conference and Dan Campbell and all these people said, why did he get the job? He can't do it, this, that, and the third. That's why he's a great coach. I've never heard so many people say this dude couldn't do it, and now he's done it. Think about that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the
And
press conference was
he turned-
embarrassing when he's talking about biting kneecaps off.
You don't listen.
Oh, Sirianni had a terrible press conference. I agree.
He made Goff a great He's a great quarterback. He gives that whole team confidence. They believe in him. You say he lost the playoff game. He didn't lose any of them players. They all believe in him. That makes him a great coach. And I think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Honestly, he's not afraid to lose.
Now
He's not afraid to lose.
Are you an Eagles fan, Bob? Are you an Eagles fan or
I'm
no?
a Giants fan. So I'm a Giants fan.
Godspeed, Bob.
Yeah, my apologies.
But we getting the first pick, so I'm not.
There you
but
go.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep my mouth shut because I'm a Giants fan for this season, but I believe Dan Campbell can really coach. I believe his team really believes in him, and I believe they're going to the Super Bowl.
All right, Bob.
I agree with Bob in the fact that I think his players do support him and they believe in him. And there was a lot of haters out there that thought, well, this is just a fiery guy. It's just going to like rah-rah everybody up and maybe he can't actually coach. I think he's turned – listen, this is an organization, not just a team, an organization that was a losing organization for decades.
I give him credit for that. And I give him credit for that. I guess you know what I would do if I was in Detroit is I would hire a game day guy to make decisions and manage the clock and not give it up to Dan Campbell.
There was also
that's
a
where
time
he struggles.
here in Philadelphia where we thought we had a guy that coached that did not have very good time management. He somehow managed to turn that around and win 3 Super Bowls.
You talking about Andy Reid?
I sure am there, friend.
Yeah, it helps when you got Patrick Mahomes.
Enjoy the win, man.
It helps when you got Patrick Mahomes. But it's interesting you brought up the Chiefs because I think a little tease on the news at noon.
Well
Ray's
done.
got something interesting for us on the Kansas City Chiefs. But all right, well, let's see. Ray, we got some texts. I had asked earlier, is the rivalry dead between the Cowboys and the Eagles? And some people texted in on that.
Yeah, Emmy from Port Richmond checked in on this one. The rivalry has been dead since Buddy Ryan left. We hate all teams equally. Feels like a very, very long time ago to have said the rivalry's been dead since.
I don't think it's been dead since then.
No, definitely not.
I think the rivalry has suffered because of the lack of times that the two teams have had a healthy quarterback. Truthfully.
That's true.
Yeah, you pointed that out to me this morning.
Or the games mean anything. 'Cause
Right.
even when they've had healthy quarterbacks, sometimes it's the last game of the season and one or the other's not playing for anything.
Nate Sudfeld's playing in week 7.
Oh.
What was that?
So
week 17.
we did the math before the show. We think there's only been 3 times where Hurts and Prescott have played each other.
Prescott's 2-1 against Jalen Hurts.
Prescott's actually been really good against the NFC East throughout
Good
his
against
career.
the Eagles.
Yeah, he has. And even the Giants and the Commanders, too. But so Ray thinks that the rivalry is starting to die because the quarterbacks haven't played each other. That's a good point, though, Ray.
Have Hurts and Prescott already played as many times as Wentz and Prescott did?
Oh,
because there
that's
was
a good question.
a lot of times during that stretch where it was
didn't.
like,
It was all but locked up, or there was an injury. Yeah.
I mean,
Good
I
question.
think part of a great rivalry now in the NFL is having two quarterbacks go back and forth with each other. And maybe that's not now probably is the wrong qualification because it was.
Well, yeah, remember
throughout
Brady
history.
Manning? Brady Manning was a big one. Now you got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, right? That's
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard for Cooper Rush and Kenny Pickett to carry the torch here.
It's also
doesn't
like
doesn't get you going.
No, it doesn't get the people going.
it's also like how the NFL is. Like you name 2, and those are really the only 2 you can think of.
What with the quarterback rivalries?
Yeah, just because there's been a lot of turnover at the quarterback position.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good
Think
point.
about some of the traditional rivals, like no one cares about Daniel Jones and whoever he's facing.
Yeah, now you may have one for years to come in the NFC East between Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels.
Now that could be
that may be where we're headed, where a nice quarterback rivalry comes. But
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, I mean, he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's a little. I feel like if I was like I want to put him in the weight room if I was a Commanders team. Like he's a little slight for me.
You want to tell him just how to get down.
Yeah, maybe learn how to slide.
Like that's going to be the biggest. This offseason, just you wait. When we get to real offseason chatter, there's going to be like an entire week done on the national media about whether or not Jaden Daniels' play style is sustainable.
It's a little reckless at times for the style and for the build of him. You worry. And I think also if I was a Commanders fan, I would have like a lot of concerns based on like the history with RG3, like having like a guy that's going to run that much. So it would be a little nervous.
That was funny. I don't know if it was you guys that said it earlier in the show, or maybe it was said somewhere else, where it was just like, oh yeah, like it's the first time they've had a quarterback in decades.
I did.
That was it. You said it.
What,
They had one-
Washington?
They did have a quarterback
For like a
year.
RG3.
Literally a year.
They literally had him for 1 year.
If I were them right now, I'd be having tremendous amounts of PTSD.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, wait a minute, this guy's good. Oh, we're not allowed.
And,
him.
Bubble wrap.
RG3 has to stop eating on camera because he's becoming a meme
It's good for it.
every single time.
You talk about
All
him.
publicity is good publicity.
Exactly.
All publicity is good publicity. Well, RG3 was involved in the Netflix broadcast on Christmas Day, and the numbers are in for the viewers for the NFL versus the NBA. We're going to talk about it coming up because there's a new king in town on Christmas Day, and it's not LeBron in the NBA.
I would say no.
Keep it here on this Football Friday. We'll be right back.
Now, the top sports stories in Philadelphia for 2024. Number 2.
The Sixers were.
Football Friday, and it's Cowboys week. And the Philadelphia Eagles can clinch the NFC East on Sunday.
That's why it's a must-win.
But where's the buzz?
I think you hit the nail on the head. There's always going to be buzz because it's the Birds, it's Cowboys, and it's football. But this week is such a weird week.
It is. It's a very strange week. I mean, even I feel out of it.
People don't know what day it is right now. You say Football Friday. I bet there's people right now listening went, wait, it's Friday?
I know. It does not feel like that.
Coming into work today.
You forgot it was Friday.
Totally forgot.
It felt like a Monday for you because you had 2 days off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
2 days.
I felt like yesterday was
fair,
Friday.
None of them really, like Monday's not really a term anymore for me because there's never 2 days off in a row.
That's
today
true.
Was just I felt like it was the show opening. I felt like we should be reacting to a game today.
Yeah. It definitely had a weird
So the
feel.
concept that most people refer to as Monday.
Well, you also felt that way, not only because the Christmas holiday, but you had NFL football on Wednesday. If you want to call that NFL football last night, you got games on Saturday.
I don't know what that
I want
was.
to call any of it football.
Well, I do want to talk about the NFL on Netflix in a second, but if you weren't tuned in earlier, I admitted that while I was watching a documentary last night about Apollo 13, they referred to the astronauts as Astros. And it hit me for the first time that the Houston Astros are called the Houston Astros because Houston, we have a problem. The Space Command Center is in Houston, Astros anyway. So I admitted that on the air, and we've got quite a few texts about that, Ray.
A lot of first-time texters, too. I love that the introduction for a lot of people to our text line was, I just have to let Bill know how I feel about the Astros. I was today years old when I found out that it's short for astronauts. Abdul from Philly, I found out when Bill announced it on the radio.
See?
I didn't know the Mets or the Metropolitans till I was 36, and I'm now 47 years old. The Astros literally have uniforms that say Space City.
Yes.
That's from Sean in King of Prussia. Bill, do you know why the Marlins are called the Marlins? Mark in Delco. Greg checking in from Jersey. Bill, I had no idea you aren't the only one. I don't know why most teams are called why they are called. Mike in Turnersville. Bill, don't feel bad. I didn't know the Astros meaning. I've, in fact, been a Philly fan since the 80s. I didn't know what a Philly or a Flyer is or why our teams are named as such.
Well, that's just a take on the name.
Yeah, but the Phillies, I think I had read this before, were originally just called Philly. And they didn't want it to be confused with the Philly Blunts or something like that. I remember reading something about this because they were the Philadelphia Quakers. I don't remember, actually.
They had a brief 2-year stint as the Blue Jays.
Yes.
Yeah, I got to go back and read all of that. But now someone on YouTube is weighing in telling me that you understand that the Houston Rockets are called the Rockets for the same reason.
Rocket City.
Same thing.
Now, but you didn't know that probably.
I didn't know until I just read it. No. I never put 2 and 2 together.
I just think you didn't think about it. I'm going to give you that.
So wait, somebody on YouTube too said, ask Bill why the 76ers are called the 76ers. That one I know.
But you did learn about the Utah Jazz. Aren't you pleased with that?
I did. I didn't know they started in New Orleans.
Yeah. And then the Minnesota Lakers, land of 1,000 lakes.
1,000 Lakes. Is there any other good ones? Any other good names out there, like of teams that have good meaning to it? Like the Flyers, it was a contest. That's why they became the Flyers.
Right.
The Eagles, why are the Eagles the Eagles? And it just feels so right.
It's because this is the birthplace of our nation, and that is our nation's bird.
Interestingly, I read somewhere recently that there was a congressperson, I think it was a congressperson, trying to make the bald eagle the official bird of the United States of America because technically that's not the official bird of the country, even though we always use it in that way, that it was not actually declared it.
It's always interesting to me that politicians want to do – you have other stuff to do.
Well, I'm a single-issue voter. I only vote for people who support the bald eagle. So
the bald eagle.
We were just at the zoo, the Elmwood Park Zoo. They have a very nice bald eagle sanctuary. You just forget how big those birds are, by the way.
Yeah.
They're massive.
Now, I went to Gettysburg, by the way, and our name was the Bullets, which makes sense. Civil War, Gettysburg, Bullets.
I heard addresses was the second runner-up there for
Stovetop hats.
Wait, this came up recently on a General Knowledge Wednesday.
Yeah, someone didn't know who delivered the Gettysburg
Someone
address.
didn't know didn't know the Gettysburg Address.
That's
was
just a failure of our education system, people.
And then I got Davy Crockett, and apparently it was supposed to be on even playing field.
Yeah, you should have known Davy Crockett.
You don't know Davy Crockett?
No.
I mean, that's not an even playing field to who gave the Gettysburg Address, one of the most famous speeches in the history of the world.
Correct.
But there's like little songs about Davy Crockett.
Yeah,
exactly.
I had not listened to that. Uncle Frank did want to check in real quick for you on this whole thing.
All right, what Uncle Frank said?
He wants to ask the question, hey, counselor, how do you think Montreal got the name Canadians? He also requested the Jeopardy music while you figured that one out.
A very funny Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank's been taking shots at me lately.
It's funny, though.
He has been, Ray, but it's all good. And he's not my Uncle Frank. I've had people in my family ask, like, is that Uncle Frank? And I'm like, no, it's an Uncle Frank.
He's all of our Uncle
Franks. Yeah, he's all of 97.5, the Fanatic's uncle. But quickly, so the NFL was on Netflix for the first time on Christmas Day. It's the first time they've played on Christmas Day that wasn't on a Saturday or Sunday, I believe. This is a Wednesday game. So the NBA used to rule Christmas Day, Amy.
It was their day.
And they had their best ratings in 5 years on Christmas Day.
They averaged some good games.
Yeah, 5.25 million viewers. Best in 5 years. The NFL games averaged.
Which were terrible.
24 million viewers. The NFL is king, Ray. The NFL is king. And Ray's not happy about this. He doesn't like that the NFL's taken over Christmas Day.
I don't want them on Christmas Day unless it falls on a Sunday.
The games stunk.
Yeah, they were really
rearranged our entire...
And also, it's hard to go back and forth.
Well, yeah, they made that intentional. Those games were on Netflix for a reason. They didn't want you to get a chance to actually watch something that was good exhibition of sport.
Yeah. I hate that. It's hard to go back and forth between them. Yeah.
That's one of the reasons
Wednesday.
I think. Yeah.
It was a Wednesday. They rearranged those teams' schedules so that they would play on a Wednesday, and that's the product we got?
Yeah, that's bad.
No thanks. I'm good. I'll pass.
But with these ratings and the fact that they did it on a Wednesday means you will have NFL football every Christmas Day from here on out. There's no way they're going to stop it.
I don't know how. I guess could they put it on Tuesday? Wednesday was the dumbest day.
Yeah, I think what they'll do on a Tuesday, it'll be
like
a continuation from the following week.
Yeah, like a Monday.
Yeah, it'll be like the Monday Night Football, but there'll be a Tuesday game.
The NFL kicks everybody in the teeth, and everyone says thank you. All the time. They don't care. They know they're going to get us.
That's true.
They punch you in the face. You say, great shot. Here, punch me in this cheek.
Did you watch that game last night, though?
Talk about like a punch to the face.
6-3.
It was awful.
I
turned it on and thought, nah.
I don't want to watch the Bears again.
And then,
for at least until next year.
There's bigger news, though, that the NFL may do that's really going to rub me the wrong way. Commercials on the red zone. Have you heard this?
Yes, and I saw the quotes from Scott Hansen. He's like, we'll roll with it. They lose their minds when it pops to a commercial when they're cutting away to games.
Yes.
Like, no. And they quickly go to anything.
His catchphrase.
I can't have that.
His catchphrase.
7 hours of commercial-free football.
And did you hear how he started Red Zone last Sunday?
No.
7 hours of Red Zone football. He dropped the commercial-free. It's coming, people.
Everything we hold sacred is gone.
Everything you loved about the Red Zone is over.
That's the whole point of the Red Zone. Can't they just do a blowback maybe and just do it picture-in-picture?
It's a sad day. I can't wait. I'm going to tell my kids, when I was your age,
back in my day,
the Red Zone didn't have commercials.
Scott Hansen never took a break.
Everybody's favorite coach coming up at 11:40. My man Nick Sirianni. Maybe he'll give us some information about who your starting quarterback will be on Sunday. Keep it right here.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Rapping for Dallas, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by PayPal. Get exclusive cashback offers in the app, and with PayPal debit card, stack 5% more in your chosen monthly category and up to $1,000 in purchases. Don't just pay. PayPal. Eagles getting set to host the Cowboys on Sunday at 1 o'clock. There's a great chance this weekend will feature both teams' backup quarterbacks, with Cooper Rush continuing to play for the Cowboys and likely Kenny Pickett getting the start for the Eagles as Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol. Nick Sirianni spoke to the media yesterday and reiterated just that.
He's in the concussion protocol, so not a lot I can comment on that. We'll get you an update after today.
Hurts isn't the only star that may miss this one. Yesterday, the Cowboys said that C.D. Lamb is out for the season, so they'll be without their star wideout. We will hear once again from Nick Sirianni coming up at 11:40, and at 1 o'clock, we'll break down this Eagles-Cowboys game with ESPN's Tim McManus. 76ers getting back in action tomorrow against the Jazz at 9:30. That, of course, coming off of the big win over the Celtics on Christmas up in Boston. The Flyers back in action against the Ducks Saturday at 4 o'clock. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Paul George.
Tap up by Cornette.
Into the Mike Missanelli Show. Mikey Miss is off today and Monday. He'll be back with us on Tuesday. But fret not, you got Bill Colarulo, Ray Dunn, and the one and only Amy Fadul on this Football Friday. We're getting ready for Nick Sirianni. We'll see. He's supposed to come on at 11:40. The best part was we had him yesterday.
I don't like tardiness.
Yeah, we had him yesterday. Ray wasn't here. He was right on time.
Of course.
When Ray's here, he loves to mess with Ray. I think that's why
like
he does
knows it. He just looks at the clock and just waits it out.
Yeah, because
Ray
Ray
it bothers you.
It does, because Ray has to mess with the clocks and everything. But while we're waiting for Nick Sirianni, a lot of the talking points are obviously revolving around the starting quarterback and can Kenny Pickett win you a football game, blah, blah, blah. But there's another thing that was a big issue against the Washington Commanders that because of the quarterback and because of the defense, I don't think we're given enough attention to, and that was their kickoff coverage, which was terrible against the Washington Commanders.
Oh.
And you look at this Dallas Cowboys team, and if we're looking for things that they can maybe do well, I don't think they have the firepower on offense, but they certainly have the firepower in their return game. That Kevontae Turpin is a stud. He's averaging 34.4 yards a return. What are you doing to me, Ray?
First day back from vacation. I forget how things work in here.
Button.
What was that?
I don't know.
That was the return music. Putting that fader back up, and I didn't push out of it.
Made me jump. Anyway, Kevontae.
So will Turpin on the returns.
Yeah. Kevontae Turpin, number one in the NFL. He averages 34.4 yards a return. And in the first game against the Eagles, he had a 47-yarder and a 36-yarder.
Yeah,
they got to do something because what they allowed the Commanders to do in that game with Braden Mann kicking off, it was terrible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like special teams you never want to talk about at all because that means something's gone wrong. You rarely talk about, like, unless it was something like that, like a really good, ooh, look at that, it was a really good punt, or that was a great return. Those are kind of one-offs. Really, special teams, keep your name out my mouth. Like, let's not talk about it because something's gone bad. And special teams, for the most part, have been very good this season.
They have.
Really.
Last year, too, they were pretty good.
Yeah, and I remember it wasn't that long ago, people, Michael Clay. Ooh,
yeah, I wanted him gone. After the Super Bowl season.
Because special teams were bad.
That was their Achilles heel all year, and then it turned out to be an issue in the Super Bowl.
Obviously really good last year in the return part of that game. But as a whole, this year they've been Jake Elliott's been a little shaky at times. But listen, that's overall. I just thought, to me, special teams is so infuriating because when you give teams an advantage, like you saw when the Commanders taking that advantage, when you set up a quarterback that's not terrible with a shorter field, and Jane Daniels is obviously above not terrible. I'm just talking about in general. You can't do that. So at Cooper Rush, you don't want to give them any chance to have a short field with the turnover on defense, obviously, and then with special teams. When you kick off or punt, you want to make sure you pin them deep and keep them there.
Yeah, and I was talking to Andrew DeCecco. He was on the morning show this morning. He'll be doing the best show ever coming up at 2 o'clock. He said at practice yesterday they did have Jake Elliott doing kickoffs again. Because I'm not sure. Now, we'll see if he does that in the game. But you started the game against the Commanders. Braden Mann hits a illegal kick. They get the ball at the 40. And then he just consistently was not putting it in the end zone. I don't know if that was the plan. But
that's a question.
Yeah, was that the plan or not? But this week, with Turpin on the other team, when you know they don't have CeeDee Lamb on their offense, they don't have Dak Prescott, just kick it in the end zone. Give them the ball at the 30. Don't give them a chance to flip the field or even get a big return for a touchdown when they have a playmaker there. Just kick it in the end zone. Take the damn touchback.
Well, no, the other thing is, even if they don't break off a good return, maybe it's only 32, those are momentum swings. Teams get fired up when you see a guy breaking tackles. Oh, let's go. I just don't want to have no joy on that sideline across from you. No joy at all.
Yeah, you don't want to put the pressure on your defense either because even if they're able to hold them and not let them score points, you've heard the old cliche, like NFL is a field position game. You let a return come out to close to midfield, even if you get them 3 and out, you're now getting pinned deep in your own zone. So hopefully special teams can get back. But you mentioned Jake Elliott. You still have some concerns about Jake Elliott? You all right with him now?
50 yards concerns me.
He did hit the 50-yarder last week.
The one.
Clutch game, though. I mean, a clutch part of the game. They're down by, what were they, down by 2 at that point?
Yeah, put them up 1.
And he hit a 50-yarder to take the lead.
The concerns is maybe, I don't know if it rises to concern, but there's definitely a little trepidation when he trots out there and it's 51 yards. And now I can't say I've ever felt that way before about Jake Elliott. There's definitely a question in my mind like, ooh, I've seen him miss this. I've seen him miss a 46.
I know. I'm hoping. But that one, at the end of the half against the Commanders, because I had some people text me too, like they got to do something. It was a 56-yarder.
Yeah, I mean, that's a boot.
Outside, on the road, and he hit it clean. It just came up short.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
I don't think there's any, I mean, overall, you just don't want it. First of all, don't leave it into the hands of the kicker at times. If you can take care of business, take care of business. But you have a very reliable kicker. In the grand scheme of things, he is a very reliable kicker. It's been a little bit dicey in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, we're talking about winning this game on Sunday so you could rest your starters. Well, Jake Elliott won't be resting the next 2 weeks.
No.
Let's hope he
Gotta keep those
is
kicks
perfect
rolling.
the next 2 weeks. I don't want to be going into the postseason worried that if it does come down to a kick that you don't have a sure thing with Jake Elliott. So let's hope, because he's always been.
He's automatic
He's
Elliott.
been a weapon.
Automatic Elliott.
He just got an extension this past season. In the offseason, they gave him an extension.
Because the kickers are so... Listen, you watched that game last night. You understood why. But kickers are a very important part. I know there's people out there that think they're not football players and whatever else. I think that's a silly argument, but whatever else. I think that when you have a good one, you do want to lock them up because you can see how valuable they are. There's Super Bowls that are won and lost on the foot of a kicker.
Now, if the Eagles do win on Sunday, which we'll get our predictions later on in the show, but I think I know how we're both leaning.
Yeah.
And let's assume the Lions and the Vikings both win this weekend. You would need to actually you need both of them to lose.
Right.
So
exactly.
assuming one of them wins this weekend, week 18 means nothing. Are you resting everybody next week?
I am. Unless there's and like you said it earlier, what's 268 for Barkley? If it's in the realm of possibility, like he goes crazy for like 155, and it's not, maybe you can get that and you get him close. I don't know. There's a conversation to be had, but in my mind, no. You rest everybody. You use it as an extra bye week. You don't need that next week. You get as healthy as possible. Playoffs are paramount. That's the number one is health in the playoffs. When the Eagles have gone to the Super Bowl and when they won the Super Bowl, they were one of the healthiest teams in the postseason, and that's the most important thing.
Now, I'm with you. I would rest everybody as well. I'm actually to the point where even if Saquon is...
If he's 100 yards away?
If it's more than 50, I'm not playing him.
All right.
So he would have to have...
He better have a really good game.
He'd have to have over 200 against the Cowboys. So I don't see it happening. So I'm resting everybody. But I have heard people out there concerned that if you do that and Jalen Hurts doesn't play this week, that's essentially 3 weeks off for Jalen because he only played 5 minutes in that game against the Commanders. He would miss both of these games coming up. Are you concerned at all about rust for Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, that's always. I feel like we've gone into the postseason for years with that rust versus rest and the idea behind it, rhythm. And Jalen Hurts, I think, is a guy that needs to be in rhythm, but he's also not been healthy. So maybe it is a case of like, do you start him for a half? Maybe you trot him out there for the half to get his kind of feet under him, so to speak, and so get the real football feel in there. Also, he just won 10 straight games for you.
Yeah,
his rhythm is still there.
You know what's crazy, though? Like, before the season, you do all these prop bets. Well, some people do. And the one that I thought was going to be a guarantee is they had Jalen Hurts, the over in passing yards set at 3,600 yards. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, it's a no-brainer. Because,
with A.J. Brown.
Well, in 2022, he only played 15 games. He threw for 3,700. In 2023, last year, which everyone was saying was a down season, he threw for 3,850.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, 3,600 yards with Kellen Moore. You still got all your weapons. He may not hit 3,000. He's at 2,900, and if he doesn't play the last 2 games, he didn't even get to 3,000.
Well, we were here a couple weeks ago. We were talking about when he was barely getting to the 200 mark for a game. And it was what's wrong with the offense type of vibe. And obviously they went out and went gangbusters.
Yeah, they showed it. I said it after that Pittsburgh game.
Plus.
I'm not questioning the passing offense any longer. But yeah, I'm not worried about him being rusty either because, I mean, you saw him no preseason at all come out against the Packers. And I know there were those 2 early turnovers. One of them was Cam Jurgens, just a bad snap. The other was a bad decision by Hurts throwing it over the middle. But that was one of his best games passing, if you go back and look.
And I think if you look at it, even when he's had tough games, the passing offense as a whole has shifted since the first couple of weeks of the season for the better. And I feel like it's now set up for success for Jalen in the way that he is throwing the ball and the way that they're operating. And that's why, we talked about, are they just not throwing the ball? It's Saquon Barkley too much, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I feel like because of that and the way that they've been on this streak and the way that they've been operating, it lends itself to you don't need him to go bananas. You don't need him to throw for 350 yards.
Yep.
So if he misses a week or two because he's resting up, it's not like you're taking him out of his rhythm where he's been Josh Allen and just, throwing for hundreds of yards every game.
Yeah, that's a good point because they can lean on their rushing attack. And I really think what's going to carry this team, the reason I'm still picking them to go to the Super Bowl, is I still strongly believe that this defense is the best defense in the NFL. Regardless of what happened in the last fourth quarter against the Commanders, this is a good team. I mean, some of these stats are crazy for this defense. Before the Commanders game, they had gone 10 straight where they didn't let an offense score more than 20. In those 10 wins, they only gave up 8 touchdown passes. 3 of them were in garbage time at the end of the game. They gave up 3 in the fourth quarter to the Commanders. And maybe even just as important, they had only given up 8 plays of 29 yards or more during their 10 wins. They gave up 4 against the Commanders.
Exactly.
It was just
that was the problem.
Very uncharacteristic. But I guess that's the bigger question, though. Do you think what you saw in the fourth quarter against the Commanders you're going to see more of, or that was just the outlier compared to the 10-game winning
I thought that
streak?
was more of a blip, and I thought there was a lot of things. Obviously, CJ not being in there is a big reason for it. I mean, you watch that tape again. McCollum is just all over being torched. They went right at him, which is exactly what you would want. Listen, if the shoe had been on the other foot and you saw their number 1 or 2 guys.
Attack it.
Yeah, of course you would. And really exploit that. So I feel like to me it was like, okay, well, that was kind of a perfect storm of they didn't have their best game plan, period. And then they had some guys that were either out for their own fault or just were off their games personally, like a one-on-one type of matchup. I thought Slay did not play particularly well in that game. And I think the previous game he had played well.
Yeah, and he was in and out of that game, too, with an injury. That's what led to that 12 men on the field, and then they don't guard the one receiver.
So it's like, to me, I was like, I don't think that that's problematic. And I don't know that this week is going to be the biggest tell of it either.
Look how mad Ray is.
That face.
I don't like tardiness.
He's now 8 minutes late. Ray, I'm telling you, he was early yesterday.
I saw the side eye. That's amazing.
I don't believe it for a second.
I didn't even need to ask. I just looked over, and I was like, oh, yeah, he's not.
It's unbelievable. You know what? I think Zach Ertz didn't go far enough. Truthfully, they should have fist fought at the center of that field. Unbelievable. It is 11:48. You try to teach about accountability and all those damn core values. And I'm sitting here on a Friday in between Christmas and New Year's, and I can't even properly plan out a commercial break because you are 8 minutes late for your press conference.
All right, what is the plan, though, Ray? We're just going
to hang out here and talk Eagles.
We're just going to sit tight until he comes on.
We'll go back to the Eagles.
I can tell you about the 11 o'clock hour sponsor.
Oh, please do, Amy.
All right, 11 o'clock hour, which we are currently in, as it's 11:48, is brought to you by Grungo Law, your law firm when you need help because of an injury. Pray for peace, prepare for trial, grungolaw.com.
Yeah, Sirianni better pray for peace. Pack his bags. He's out.
You.
He's gone. That's it. We fired him again.
He never wins the press conference for Ray.
Speaking of legal-related things, did you see a former Eagle pled guilty a couple days ago to fraud? Wendell Smallwood. You remember Wendell Smallwood?
I heard about this, yes.
So
not good.
He was charged in October with submitting fraudulent tax returns and fraudulent applications for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, in COVID-19 aid. He pled guilty to 3 fraud charges on Friday. He'll be sentenced in May.
There's a lot of people that got caught up in that with those loans.
Man, that's wild. Wendell Smallwood.
They just thought they were giving away money and didn't have to pay it back or need it for actual causes.
He wasn't that bad. I'm surprised. He's out of the league already. He's only 30 years old.
Oh, that's a running back for you.
And look who's at the podium.
Hey!
Are we ready to go to our man, Nick?
Nick, any update you can share with us on Jalen?
Yeah, he's still in the protocol. It's going to be tough for him to make it this week.
Is it as simple as if he's cleared prior to Sunday, he'll play, or does it reach a point where Kenny's gotten all the reps?
Again, not going to get too much into that. He's still in the protocol.
How has Kenny handled the reps this week?
Yeah, I think he's had a nice week of practice. He's done a nice job, and we've had some good practices and walkthroughs this week.
What's it mean to have the full week with him getting those first team reps as far as versus last week when he's got to come in full?
Yeah, I think anytime you get to work, anytime you get to work our plays against the defense that you're playing against with the guys that you're going to be going with, that helps you. And so, that's our philosophy in practice. Everyone's philosophy in practice, and it was like I said, it was a good week of practice.
I think the Cowboys ruled out C.D. Lamb. Does that change anything in the preparation role?
Yeah, he's a phenomenal football player. And anytime you're going against a dynamic player like he is, you obviously think about ways that you don't allow him to beat you, and how you take him away. And so, there's obviously part of our thought process and our game planning, is a part of that. And so you adjust as you need to.
In the case of CJ in particular, perhaps Jalen Carter, but CJ in particular, do you think you can, develop a reputation with officials where they're looking for things that would prevent this?
I think the officials do a great job of just refereeing the game, and it's a hard job, and I don't think that I think that every crew's a little bit different. But I think that they're always trying to do their best job, with the the things that are happening in that game without putting anything else out there as far as a bias or anything like that. That's what they're paid to do, and I think they do a good job of that. And we have good officiating. Pardon me.
So AJ got added to the report with the knee again this week. Is anything going on there?
I'm sorry.
With AJ with the knee, so he got added to the report.
He's on. Yeah, he's on he's obviously on there, and see how today goes.
Targets, AJ and Devontae pretty much had the lion's share last week. Again, a little bit of a strange week, but is it more of an emphasis to try to get more people involved?
Those two guys are phenomenal football players. Sometimes they're first in the read, sometimes they're second in the read, sometimes they're third in the read. You're trying to get them the football. You're trying to get Saquon the football. I've always said that the pass game runs through them, and good things happen when the ball gets in their hands.
What was take it back to when you guys originally traded for Kenny? What was the impetus for that?
Say that one more time.
What was the impetus for trading for Kenny? Like, what made you
tell me it down a little bit?
what motivated you guys to really go after that?
We really liked the player. We really liked the things that we liked him coming out of college, and we liked the things that he did with experience as an NFL starter. And so, heard great things. Hear great things about him when you do all the draft work and everything like that. And it fit us well.
Is there consideration of change on kickoffs for Jake?
Good question, Zach. I think Braden's done a nice job. And been able to place the ball where he needs to place it. Again, like I said last week, weather was a little bit different. Hard to, some of the distance comes off that in the cold. We're happy with where Braden is.
All right, we'll flip it over.
Is that it today?
That's it.
Wow.
All right. So listen, no jokes, Ray. Impetus is a tough word. Okay. He needed him to dummy down the question. He needed to
I'm the dumbest coach in the world. I'm the dumbest coach in the world.
I mean, you show up 8 minutes late, you don't know what impetus is. Listen, they're winning a lot of football games with the guy's the coach. All right, we're not going to go after him, but you got to realize how exhausting it is sometimes to go to bat for the guy.
Wait, was that Tim that asked that question? I think it may have been Tim.
We'll go back and look.
I'll ask Tim when he comes on at 1 o'clock. All right, but the big news from the presser. Jalen Hurts still in the concussion protocol.
Not going to make it.
Yeah, Sirianni said it's going to be tough for him to play. That's basically him signaling it's Kenny Pickett this week. So we'll see. It was a good week of practice for Kenny Pickett. We know what the impetus was for them trading for Kenny Pickett, thanks to that tough question for Nick Sirianni. And Braden Mann is still going to handle kickoff duties. That pretty much sum it all up. And A.J. Brown is battling the knee. He's battling the knee, but...
That's a question. I love that question. It's like, he's on the injury report. Yes, he is.
Yeah, that was basically it. We didn't get anything. That was kind of a waste of a presser, Nick Sirianni.
That's all right.
If he showed up maybe on time.
Jalen Hurts.
But all good. You know what's going to cheer everybody up, though, Ray? We got the news at noon coming up next, so they don't want to miss it. Ray hasn't done one in 2 days because he decided to take off 2 days, Christmas Day and the day after, the nerve. But the news at noon with Ray Dunn coming up next.
Fanatics Sports Update.
Prepared for Pickett. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Got a leaky pipe, having issues with your heat at Ace Hardware Home Services. They're around the block with everything you need to fix it. They've got the pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. The Eagles getting set to host the Cowboys on Sunday at 1 o'clock, and it looks like it will be Kenny Pickett getting the start at quarterback. Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol. Nick Sirianni, who you just heard, saying it's going to be tough for Hurts to make it getting a chance to play in this game. So it looks like Kenny Pickett versus Cooper Rush. That's what we were all looking forward to when this game came out on the schedule late in the season between the Eagles and Cowboys. Still lots to look forward to and what the Eagles could do with the win. Obviously, they win the NFC East with a victory on Sunday over the Cowboys. It is Cowboys week, so a lot of fun between these two teams, despite the fact that it is Cooper Rush versus Kenny Pickett, it looks like, for the quarterback battle. And oh, by the way, the wide receiver battle, A.J. Brown battling a knee injury, CeeDee Lamb now done for this season, as he is dealing with a shoulder injury. So a lot of the stars for this game having some of the juice taken out of it, at least. Looking elsewhere in Philadelphia sports, 76ers, Jazz, Saturday night at 9:30. Sixers coming off the big win over the Celtics on Christmas in Boston. And the Flyers have the Ducks Saturday at 4 o'clock. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Not only can you listen to The Fanatic, but you can also...
It's time on the Mike Missanelli Show. We just heard from everybody's favorite head coach, Nick Sirianni. That's right, Amy and Ray. Everybody's favorite head coach, Nick Sirianni.
So much good.
It looks
so much good.
It looks like it's going to be Kenny Pickett. Not official yet, but when Nick Sirianni said it's going to be tough for Jalen to play, he's still in protocol. Looks like he got Kenny Pickett. But we'll do some more Eagles talk, getting you ready for Eagles and Cowboys later on in the show, because now it's everybody's favorite time. It's time for the news at noon.
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the news at noon. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, Raymond, what do we got today?
All right, we're going to start in college hoops because we got big news yesterday. I think while you were on the air, this was being reported. I kind of forget the piecing of yesterday together, given the fact that I was not here. In case anyone missed Bill letting you know that 6 times throughout the first 2 hours of this program. Jim Larinaga announced that he is retiring, and it's not the end of the season. It's right now. The man's done. He's over it. It's over. University of Miami head coach saying he's done, and he gave a reasoning that is all too familiar.
I know I'm going to be asked a lot of questions, but I want to answer them before I'm even asked. What shocked me beyond belief was after we made it to the Final Four, just 18 months ago, the very first time I met with the players, 8 of them decided they were going to put their name in the portal and leave. I said, don't you like it yet? No, I love it. I love Miami. It's great. But the opportunity to make money someplace else created a situation that you have to begin to ask yourself as a coach, what is this all about? And the answer is it's become professional.
So, all right, listen. I know they got to put regulations on this transfer portal and everything with the NILs, but I'm a little over it now with all these coaches using this as an excuse that the reason that they're just quitting on their teams is because, players are leaving. What about all the coaches who used to leave? What about all the coaches who used to recruit kids to come play at the college, and then before the kids even hit their sophomore year, they're out because they're bouncing for a better program? Was that an issue back then? Did any of the coaches have problems with that? And now all these coaches, these kids are just leaving. I can't do it anymore. Please.
Not as many coaches left because there was more opportunities to make $10 million.
Didn't this guy leave? Didn't this guy used to coach? Where did he used to coach? Didn't he used to coach?
George Mason. He didn't leave like in the middle of a season.
He left after they had a good season, though. After he had a season.
He was hired away.
He bounced. He left on all the kids he recruited. He left.
Has not coached 4 teams, though, in 4 years like some of these transfer portal players are doing.
I agree. They need to do something with the transfer portal.
The boat.
But just to quit, I don't know.
He's also an older gentleman.
Yeah. So, the question here for me is, are we going to reach a point where, the oldest coaches we got in college basketball be 60 max?
Listen, Tony Bennett was over it. He's 60.
Yeah.
He's like, nope. Jay Wright, I'm out.
Yeah, Jay Wright, I'm still waiting for him to come back. Do something.
No.
He's such a good coach.
Yeah, he is.
Wait, how old is Jay Wright now?
60, right? 59?
That's
60?
how you know the Sixers have turned it around.
He's 63.
There you go. Well, he retired when he was 60.
He's
been
you
gone
don't think
3
he's going to
years.
get the bug again, Jay Wright?
No, I don't.
What were you saying, Ray? You know the Sixers turned it around
because we haven't heard any of the Jay Wright.
Remember that? It was always like Jay Wright's going to come save the Sixers.
Yep.
But the portal needs to be fixed. But what else you got, Ray?
All right, let's keep it in college sports here. Yesterday, Pitt, Toledo. I know you guys were locked in. Big bowl game. Such a big bowl game that game above sports bowl. I don't know. It was something like that. There was a bowl name tied to it, of course. But I don't know what it was. Pitt, Toledo, I watched a couple plays, maybe a couple drives. They went to 6 overtimes. Great game. Not what we're going to talk about, though. Announcers jinx. We might have gotten the greatest one in all of sports history. Here you go.
Goodness gracious. David Lynch didn't think he'd throw 13 times to start this game this early, but he's been impressive. Big kid, 6'3", 225 pounds.
Intercepted. Picked up by Toledo's Nasir Bowers. Pick 6. And it's Braden Alls taking it to the house.
I mean, that's a lock of the decade.
That's the entire clip, by the way. There was no editing done. It was within 3 seconds.
That announcer knew what happened. He did it. He spoke it into existence.
Wait, who was that? Who was the color analyst right there?
Oh, now you're going to make me look bad. I
don't. It was the bowl game was called Game Above Sports.
Okay.
It was the Game Above Sports Bowl. I didn't make that up. Yeah.
That sounds like a made-up name, though.
Like, we may not have been locked in on that game, but you know who probably was? The soon-to-be Rookie of the Year.
Oh.
Quinyon Mitchell, University of Toledo
right.
guy.
That's a good
Well, I was
point.
going to say Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett, too, because of Pittsburgh.
Well, it's funny because you had a 5 overtime game the day before, 2 days before that.
Right, and it was the longest game ever.
And then they were like, just kidding.
Now
we've got 6 overtimes for the longest bowl game.
I thought you were going to say Mike was. Because somewhere Mike was laughing at Pitt's expense.
Probably.
Doing the too small.
Oh.
Yeah, he was definitely having a nice little celebration.
Yeah, I would pray that Mike on vacation yesterday wasn't
Not locked
into Pitt Toledo.
He might not have been locked in. He definitely saw that final score, and there are definitely texts fired off to people he knows. I'm sure.
You're probably right.
All right, final one here. Colin Cowherd. Firing away it takes here. Listen to what he calls the Chiefs.
Last 9 games for Mahomes. 19 touchdowns, 2 picks. And here's what's amazing. Flying under the radar. Baltimore, MVP talk. Buffalo, man, this is the year. Kansas City does 2 things well. Gets better by December and January. And here they are, the dynasty in the league. It's a lot like New England, Belichick, and Brady. And they're flying under the radar. Everybody's talking about this is the year, and we're going to win this award. And Kansas City's just winning, and now they're winning by more. In the last 4 games, more points, more yards. This is a better version of last year's team. Now Hollywood Brown, now Worthy, now Kelsey, now Watson. They'll probably grab a running back in the draft, knowing Kansas City, that Boise State kid will fall to them at like 32. But I found New England's dynasty fascinating, their efficiency. I never felt New England outside of the Randy Moss years was the best team. I didn't think they had the best roster. I don't know if Kansas City has the best roster, but they've figured out the best formula to get good at Christmas and beyond.
All right, before we actually go into the crux of the take here, just a couple of things I love about Colin Cowherd that we got in that clip. Just bear with me for a moment here. That Boise State kid, the blatant disregard for anything that's not a power school or basically not Lincoln Riley.
The runner-up to the Heisman Trophy couldn't possibly talk about him and his name.
Chef's kiss. Beautiful work there by Colin Cowherd because he knows exactly what he's doing right there. And now, secondly, I don't know if this was intentional with the holiday, but he sounds like a guy that listened to a little Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Listen to this.
Now Hollywood Brown, now Worthy, now Kelsey, now Watson.
On Dasher, on Dancer.
He was
Prancer and Vixen.
Trying to throw a little bit of holiday flavor into the take, and I have to appreciate it. But here's the real crux of what we heard there.
And here they are, the dynasty in the league. It's a lot like New England, Belichick, and Brady. And they're flying under the radar.
Nobody's talking about the team that only has 1 loss at a Hallmark movie made about its tight end. And people continue to have a conversation about Mahomes being the greatest of all time. Nobody's talked about him. They're flying under the radar.
Flying under the radar.
Yeah, I don't agree with them that they're flying under the radar, but I will say there were a lot of people who still do it, and I've been guilty of this as well, saying they're not as good as their record reflects.
You said that last year.
Yeah. People still say it about this 15-1, but I've been coming around saying, look, 15-1 is 15-1. A few weeks ago, maybe even longer, about a couple months ago, I was like, all right, they're not as good as their record was. But it's hard to start ignoring them. I mean,
last year we thought they were having a down year. They're not that good. And then all of a sudden December hit and they're like, psych.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going back last year when the Eagles beat them.
I will not doubt that. Yes.
The Eagles beat them, and they don't have receivers.
Oh, yeah.
Who was the receiver who dropped the pass at the end of that game?
Valdez-Scantling?
Yes. Yes, it was Valdez-Scantling. Good memory, Ray. And we were there saying they're not that good this year. They win the Super Bowl. But, yeah, flying under the radar.
15-1, you can't fly under the radar when you have arguably the most popular quarterback.
Speaking of
most popular player.
Yeah, you got Travis Kelce. By the way,
Bundleruski. I mean, this is not a team that's been flying under the radar.
Television.
This guy was in a Santa suit. It was.
Andy Reid came out in a Santa suit after the game.
Flying under the radar.
Travis Kelce.
Little engine that could.
We are getting a little bit oversaturated with the Kelces.
No.
But I'm a little upset because I'm excited about the Happy Gilmore sequel that's coming out. But on the trailer, they show Travis Kelce, and I've seen people angry about it.
The reason they showed, I'm sure he's in there for all of he was in something else.
Well, they also ran the trailer during the game.
What he was in another show recently. American Horror Story, right? And he was in there for 5 minutes, not even. But they show it because
Bill,
they're
you
in the
sound
business.
like a hater.
I do hate.
They're in the business of wanting people to watch their show.
I have admitted to hating on Travis Kelce, but it is oversaturated. I mean, you can't deny that there has been an oversaturation.
Strike while the iron is hot.
But I think we may feel here in the city the oversaturation more than they do nationally because we lived with Jason for so long. And I mean, look, I love Jason Kelce, but we lived with him for so long that maybe nationally they're just starting to get this oversaturation. I don't know.
Strike while the iron is hot. In 5 years, you will not be talking about them.
But are you excited about Happy Gilmore too?
Absolutely. I want to, yes. But like I always am wary of, there's very few sequels that have equaled, much less surpassed the previous.
Well, if Mike Miss was here, he'd probably tell you Godfather 2 was one of them. Godfather 2 was an excellent sequel. But
to me, that's not a sequel. That's more.
Home Alone 2 was basically the same movie, just in New York.
Just
but
Godfather is more of a continuation of the story, which I am always fine with. And then
well, I'm excited for Happy Gilmore 2.
Ace Ventura 2 wasn't terrible.
No, it wasn't.
Ghostbusters 2.
All righty there. Anyway, we'll talk about it all coming up. We still got an Eagles-Cowboys game that we got to get into. We'll do some more Happy Gilmore talk as well because Shooter is back in it.
That's all that really matters.
That's all that matters. Shooter McGavin. But keep it here. It's Football Friday.
Happy holidays from the Fanatic family to yours.
here on the Mike Missanelli Show. You got Bill, Amy, and Ray today getting you ready for Eagles and Cowboys on Sunday. We keep talking about how weird of a week it is, but it really is a weird week. Just feels off. Doesn't feel like a football
You don't know what day
Friday.
it is. You don't know what people haven't gotten dressed or showered. I just turned the television on with the volume up.
Oh, is that what that was?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Amy's watching TV over here.
I just want to put on the Navy Bowl game.
Oh, yeah. Who do they have today?
Oklahoma. In the Armed Forces Bowl down in Fort Worth, Texas.
You're into that, huh?
My nephew goes to Navy, so I like to participate.
Oh, in Annapolis.
Yes. Lovely.
You're quite thrilled with the Army-Navy result then.
That was very exciting.
I didn't
The
expect
whole family
that.
went. No.
I did not expect that.
No. I thought Navy had a chance, but wow, Army really.
Can we talk about how it's disrespectful to our nation to host that game in Landover,
you.
Maryland?
Thank you.
Where do you think it should be? Philadelphia?
It should be here and nowhere else.
They never should have let it go.
Yeah, but like
it always used to be here.
Yeah. Occasionally they would be like, all right, we'll go to Baltimore, which if I'm, West Point, I'm like, that's not cool.
Yeah, but
then
they did
would
get
go to the
MetLife.
Meadowlands. Yeah, exactly.
So MetLife, I can understand from a turf perspective, disgrace because of the field conditions.
Right.
But all right, fine. You want to put it up there? That's fine. Landover, Maryland, I understand. We're supposed to be near the nation's capital. That stadium's a disgrace.
My entire family. So my nephew goes to the Naval Academy, and so everybody went. My sister, my parents, my brothers, the whole family. They had a contingent of 14 people. And I have a number of family members that live in the Northern Virginia area, but a lot of them have maybe only gone to whatever it's called, FedEx Field, not anymore.
North Star Stadium, right?
Perfect. Great.
Oh, I still been calling it FedEx Field.
No, I think it just changed.
It did
Didn't even
change
know.
this year, whatever it is.
Like 2
it's
weeks
a dump.
ago.
We all remember the Jalen Hurts thing. The thing has been falling apart. There's one road in. The transportation, which is really great usually in the D.C. area, doesn't go there. It drops you off a mile away. The parking lot is a mess.
Yeah.
And D.C. traffic is a nightmare anyways. They were like, I'm getting these texts this is a great game, but this stadium, I'm like, I know.
Are they under contract for the Army-Navy game for the future? Or
So I don't know if because that stadium's not going to be there. So it doesn't come back here for another 3 years.
Yeah, it should always be.
Yeah. I looked at it because we were like, I want to go and support Drew. It'll be so much fun. And then so last year it was in Boston. And the year before it was in, I don't know where it was. It hasn't
I think
been
it was
here.
MetLife the year before.
MetLife, there you go.
Because I wanted to go while I was at Temple. I want to find a way in, the whole thing.
I've never been, but I heard it's
it's
quite
tremendous.
an experience.
I've gone. So I worked in Baltimore for a number of years, and then I would come up here and cover it. And then the first couple of years that I worked here, we would go either cover it or just go. It's
And the
it's
tailgate
honestly
seems apparently
tailgate is
fantastic.
amazing. The march on with the core and the mid. It's
gotta
really
be cool.
quite the experience. And then flyovers are legit.
So-
Those are legit flyovers.
I will stop distracting the show in a second here. But we have Baltimore next year,
Yes.
and then New York the year after.
That's what I thought. So
back up to
it's for
MetLife.
3 more years.
And then Philly in 3 years.
New Jersey.
3 years.
All right, so maybe we'll
It'll
do
be the
that.
longest time it's ever gone and not been here.
Now, we were talking about where the game was this year, and you reminded me about who owns the Washington Commanders that play in
gosh.
that stadium, who
Got a
also
shot of
owns
him.
the 76ers. And we haven't really talked any Sixers today on the show. I know it's a Football Friday show.
Great win.
Exactly. That's what I want to talk about. I want to get you and Ray's reaction. 118-114 over the Boston
win.
Celtics. How about my man Caleb Martin with a career-high 7 threes?
Finally. Well, he shot the three really well the game before too.
Well,
Very good game.
that one was disgusting that he banked. But
They
we'll
all
take
count
it.
the same.
We'll take
You
it.
call it like it is.
However, we need to be very careful here. The Boston Strangler nickname.
Yeah, that's got to go to who? Is it Tony, right?
We got to hold off on using that.
Oh yeah, there's one person it's Andrew Toney.
Well, I understand, but
We're
I
all
saw
done.
I saw it was being used,
Joel Embiid did it when they were interviewing Caleb Martin
and that's fine.
postgame.
Inside the locker room, they want to have
Yeah,
that
they
fun.
want to have some jokes and
But
whatever else.
Let's not.
No, we can't.
We can't.
There is one person that is.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
That
just
nickname.
NBA opening night, all right? So we can't get ahead of
But-
ourselves here.
But more importantly, Ray and Amy.
That's true. Opening.
Yeah, they're 1-0,
Are
by
you-
the way.
Exactly.
In games that count, the
Season
Sixers are
starts
1-0.
Yeah, are you starting to believe maybe that this is the team we thought they were going to be? They have won 8 of their last 11.
Oh, I know.
I know Amy.
Nobody knows more than Amy.
I know.
I've been there.
That was more for the listeners than Amy. Amy's like, trust me, I've lived through the beginning of this
I'm
season.
there. No, I mean, I think we always thought, even when they were struggling, that if this team got all 3 guys on the court together in some semblance of health, that they were going to be okay. That was the biggest question, is that they just can't. And with the way that they're going to stagger the back-to-backs, there's going to be very limited games where you have all 3 out there, whether it's they're completely healthy or not. That's just the way that is. And if you recall how the season is set up, and I know you guys did because I did a lot of Eagles for the last couple of weeks because there was 2 games in 10 days because the way that the league wanted to make sure that it was special for the NBA Cup. All right, you're only playing with these. So you had all these open dates. So the way that the schedule is backloaded, there's a lot of back-to-backs coming up.
So they're not going to all be on the court. But
it's just the way it is. But I do believe the standings are they're like a game and a half out in the loss column of the 10th spot.
Well,
and
they're
only 4.
They're 3.5 back of the 6th seed Miami.
So I mean,
and we thought Miami was going to trade Jimmy Butler, but Pat Riley came out yesterday and said,
"Nah, man,
we're not trading him." Now I don't know if you could take him for his word or not.
I think you can because I think that he knows that you'd call him on that, unless there's some kind of mitigating circumstance and Jimmy says he wants to get out, and that's a different thing. But I feel like the way that the East is setting up, it's there for the taking. There's 2 teams that are running away with it, and the rest is really open. Yeah. And now the Magic have had every single player is taken,
which stinks.
I really kind of do feel bad for them because they, Franz Wagner was tremendous to watch.
Is he out for the year? How long is he out for?
No, he's the same exact injury though Paolo Banchero has, which is odd. And I would think their strength and conditioning guy got a call after that.
Yeah, that is weird.
Might be disrespectful to say it, but I feel bad for them more in the sense I never saw them as the legitimate threat to what I wanted this team to accomplish.
Right.
I wanted them to be fun and good.
Yeah, little noise in the 7th seed spot for the Magic.
Well, maybe they get out of the play.
But
who do you
5 or 6?
Who do you think's the better team, the Cavs or the Celtics?
Celtics.
Same. But the Cavs have played so well.
Cavs play well. Cavs can score a lot.
I'm trying to think if you get. See, one of my concerns was if the Sixers make it through the play-in and they're the 8 seed going in, you'd have to play Boston to start. But now it's looking like you may have to play the Cavs if you're the 8 seed. But if they're the 7 seed, which could also be through the play-in, you would have the Celtics. Or you think the Celtics are going to take that top seed?
I think the Celtics are going to. I think the cream will rise to the top.
See, I'm still hoping for they get up to the 6 seed and we open up against the New York Knicks.
No.
And we avenge last season.
No, I don't. Mm-mm.
Did you watch the end of that Knicks game?
Give me the Knicks, Ray.
I don't know how many Sixers fans were tapped into the end of that Spurs-Knicks game.
That was a great day of basketball, actually.
It
was 3 really good games.
The end of that game gave me the most PTSD I've ever had in my life.
It was literally I saw the Spurs uniform, and I was like, no, I've already seen this scene. I know exactly what happens here.
Josh Hart
getting the rebound, I was like,
somebody get in front of that man. Knock him to the ground. Do something.
Like, Josh Hart with the rebound, I'm like, you don't say.
You could hear the pain in Ray's voice still.
Say.
All right, well, that'll be our basketball talk for the day.
Yeah, it was
because
good.
it is very good. Nice 5 minutes on the Sixers, but the Sixers are turning the corner, hopefully. We got the Fly Guys making a late push to, not a late push, but maybe a surprise push to the playoffs. I don't know. I said a couple weeks ago I thought the Flyers were going to be a playoff team. I think they may sell at the deadline and come up short again, but I'm all right. It's a rebuild. But we'll get back to our Football Friday conversation because coming up next, we're going to give you our NFL picks. I'm not bragging. Just letting you know, you may want to listen to me because I'm 33-14-1 this season, and I got 3 good ones for you for our NFL pick segment. Amy's got 3 for you, too, so keep it right here.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Prepared for Pick It. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by PayPal. Get exclusive cashback offers in the app and with a PayPal debit card. Stack 5% more in your chosen monthly category and up to $1,000 in purchases. Don't just pay. PayPal. Eagles preparing for Kenny Pickett to be the man on Sunday as Jalen Hurts remains in concussion protocol. We heard from Nick Sirianni in the 11 o'clock hour meeting with the media. And here's what he had to say on Hurts.
He's still in the protocol. It's going to be tough for him to make it this week.
Well, it's going to be tough for him to make it this week, which means more than likely you're seeing a matchup of the backup quarterbacks, Cooper Rush, Kenny Pickett, or Cowboys, Eagles, 1 o'clock Sunday at the Link. The Eagles with the opportunity to win the NFC East if they do win that football game. Other injury notes for the Cowboys, they'll be without wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. The rest of the year, he is now out for the season with a shoulder injury. Again, that game Sunday at 1 o'clock at Lincoln Financial Field. Looking elsewhere in Philadelphia sports, the 76ers coming off their biggest win of the season over Boston in Boston on Christmas Day. They now head out west. They've got the Utah Jazz tomorrow at 9:30, and the Flyers play tomorrow at 4 o'clock against the Ducks. I'm Ray Donald, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Happy holidays from the Fanatic family to yours.
Hi, I'm Dylan McKinnon, Digital Content Coordinator at 97.5 The Fanatic. I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays, even you Cowboys trolls. Yes, you're not going to get much else nice for Christmas this year, so at least you can enjoy yours.
Hey, Austin Jones here, producer on The Fanatic, wishing your family and friends a happy holidays and go Birds.
Season's greetings, and thanks for listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Drive like Brandon Graham at Gary Barbera's Chiefs U.S. Marines Toys for Tots wrap up the year sales event.
How do we do it?
We stock them deep and we sell them cheap. Right, Birds Coach Nick?
Boy, I guess.
Right, Brandon Graham?
Boy, I guess.
Amy's back.
I'll be back on Monday, too.
You will be back on Monday as we react to hopefully the Eagles win in the NFC East with a big win against the Dallas Cowboys. But this 12 o'clock hour is brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. But now it's one of my favorite times of the week. We got our NFL pick segment coming up. All right, Amy, I'm going to start us off. So last week, I almost went 3-0, but I had a push. So now I'm 33-14-1.
I was wondering when the one happened. I didn't know it had just happened.
It was a push. All right, but let's start down at that beautiful stadium in Landover, Maryland.
Oh.
The Washington Commanders host the Atlanta Falcons. Commanders are a 4.5-point favorite. Falcons coming in with Michael Penix, their first-round draft pick, taking on Jaden Daniels, the Commanders' first-round draft pick. The Falcons can clinch the NFC South with a win, but it's not going to happen. I'm taking the Commanders minus 4.5, and they will secure a playoff spot, and that could mean Eagles-Commanders wild card matchup. But we'll see. Go with the Commanders. They will cover the 4.5. Next up, let's go down to Tampa Bay. Everybody knows I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan. They're coming off a big upset where they got beat by the Dallas Cowboys. They need to win this game to hopefully keep their playoff hopes alive. And they got the lowly Carolina Panthers coming to town, who are feeling good about themselves. Overtime win against the Arizona Cardinals. But they're 8.5-point dogs. I'm taking the Bucs to blow out the Panthers and cover that 8.5. But then we go to my lock of the week. And the lock of the week is presented by McCausland Lock Services. For up to 50% off car keys and remotes, go to where the dealers go. McCausland Lock Services. Lock of the week. The Arizona Cardinals.
I got that one.
They lost last week to the Carolina Panthers. I wonder if we're going in the same position on this one. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They have been eliminated from playoff contention. They're on the road in L.A., taking on the Rams, who have won 4 games in a row. They need this win to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're favored by 6.5. I got the Rams covering. I'm taking home favorites across the board today. Rams minus 6.5. Take it.
Wow. I did not take that.
Oh, we're going up against each other today.
That's your lock?
It's my lock of the week.
Wow. Okay.
All right, what do we got, Amy?
All
Let's
right,
hear
so
it.
I should start with that one.
Yes.
I like the Cards because of them being at the brink and trying to keep any kind of semblance of hope for the playoffs. I think they come in with a renewed effort, and Calamari does a much better job.
I believe, yes, they were eliminated.
Already eliminated?
Yes, the Cardinals have no hopes. That's why this is my lock of the week, Amy.
See, you didn't even know that.
Yes, they are out. They were eliminated last week with that
come
loss.
up with a different one. Oh,
But
even
no, you
better.
can stick
They're
with
play
it.
loose.
They'll play loose. There it is. Way to spin it. Yeah, so you got the Cardinals.
I got the Cardinals.
Plus 6.5.
Plus 6.5. Denver. I like the Broncos. They're on the road. Cincinnati is leaking serious oil. I love that offense. That defense is atrocious. That's 3.5 is where I saw it. So I like the Broncos in that one. This one's kind of like a pick'em, but I needed another one. So I'm going with the Saints, 1.5. I think they are also on the road.
Saints are getting 1.5?
Yes.
All right, I like it. I do like your Broncos pick a little bit because if they win that game, they're in the
picked all
playoffs.
road teams, I think.
Yeah, if the Broncos win, they are in the playoffs. But the Bengals, even with a win, they only have a 12% chance of making the playoff. It's a tough spot.
Listen, I enjoy the Bengals offense as a whole, but that team is a mess. That's a mess team. So 3.5, I like Denver.
It won't happen.
All right. What's not going to happen?
But if Burrow were to get them into the playoffs, they would have to go through pretty much the entire gauntlet of AFC quarterbacks.
Can you imagine?
What, you'd have to do Baltimore,
Buffalo,
Kansas
City. Can you imagine?
Again, it's not going to happen. I'm not saying it's
well,
going to happen.
whoever's in that spot would, right?
Yeah, but What every other team I'm absolutely know for sure is not going to be able to survive that.
Right.
The
There's
only
no
guy
way.
I have faith in that could potentially do
Yeah,
it.
Burrow at least has like.
Could you imagine the offseason that man would have, regardless of what happened in the Super Bowl?
Can you imagine if
he would be anointed
he beat those 3 guys?
as like football god?
He would be, yeah.
Oh, he may already be a god with the information that was released after his house got robbed. But we're not going to go there today.
Wow. Wow. Well, you kind of did, though.
Oh. All right. Well, while we're looking around the NFL.
People are Googling that right now.
Yeah, they are. They're like, what happened? What did he do?
Wait, what are you talking about?
So there's a lot of games this weekend because the NFL, they took over Wednesday, Christmas Day, and, of course, they played last night. And why not throw 3 games on Saturday? So there's a lot of games this weekend. But I think if I'm looking around the NFL, the game that I'm really looking forward to outside of Cowboys at Eagles, 4:25 on Sunday, the Green Bay Packers
this is a great game.
in Minnesota. That's a great game, 4:25.
It reminds me of when it was the Bills Chiefs, and you thought, this is what we're playing for, right? This is football. There's a lot on the line in that game.
Yeah, and it's
a lot.
You talk about like almost a pick 'em. the Packers are getting 1.5 in Minnesota. I mean, this is a close matchup. The Vikings, we're not giving them any respect. I think I'm picking the Packers, though, to win that game.
Are you?
I just think the Packers are the team that I have most concerns about in the NFC. And Ray is with me on this. We've talked to Mike a lot. Because you look at the Packers, they have a really good defense. They have a good offense. They have a good quarterback. They have a very good head coach.
Yeah. Oh, it's a solid team.
And we know that their game can travel. Now, this one's obviously in a dome in Minnesota, but if they had to come to Philadelphia in the playoffs, I'm picking the Eagles, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Packers beat them.
They're very fundamentally sound across the board. And, when you look at something and if you're comparing to apples, and I think when you look at something like, in this case, the Packers versus the Vikings, two evenly matched teams, it comes down to the quarterback. And I think that goes in Jordan Love's favor as opposed to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's having a miraculous season.
He really is.
Exceptional.
I mean, it's why Kevin O'Connell's going to win Coach of the Year. He should.
Oh, yeah.
What he's
Absolutely. Because I don't think anybody thought that they would be vying for the 1 seed, which is what they would be.
It's incredible.
If things,
we were talking about this.
Way.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little earlier on the show. If Detroit and Minnesota win this weekend, they would both go into the final game of the season at 14-2, and the loser of the game between the Lions and the Vikings is a 5 seed at 14-3.
That's crazy.
They wouldn't even get a home game.
It's not that long.
14-3, and you don't get a home game.
Meanwhile, tell us the record of the NFC South winner.
Yeah, the NFC South winner could be 8-9 the way it's going right now.
I'm sitting there and being like, wait, what? And they would host.
They would host. Yeah, a 14-3 would go on the road to, at best, probably, if Atlanta wins the next 2, they would be 10-7.
That's amazing, though. But they probably won't.
It's
but
almost
if they do 10-7. They would host.
This comes up every year.
Yeah.
Should the NFL change that?
Yes.
Where does a division winner deserve a home game? See, I still think they do.
Why? If your division's bad.
It's still not easy to win your division. Look at the NFC East. There hasn't been a repeat winner in how many years?
It is if you're AFC South or NFC South. Those are the worst divisions I've ever seen.
Yeah, you're right.
We need to keep things sacred in this league. I need the Texans to win the division almost every year and play that 4 o'clock game on Saturday.
With the 9 wins?
Yeah. All right. There's a few.
But seriously, those two, AFC South and NFC South, those are atrocious divisions.
Something to be said for tradition here. All right? And I appreciate that tradition.
You get one game above 500, you get to host a game.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
How are we supposed to keep those cities paying attention?
Well, it's like when it goes to the NBA, and the reason that the Magic vaulted above the Sixers is because they won their made-up division.
Now, that was a disgrace to our great game, and we should get rid of it.
People can't even name the divisions in the NBA.
Are there divisions in the NBA? No, I'm kidding. But you're right. The Astros. But you're right. It's not even about that. I mean, it's just everybody makes the playoffs in the NBA, which is absurd. That's why the regular season doesn't matter, and that's why fans tune in to the NFL on Christmas Day instead of the NBA. 24 million versus 5 million.
They would tune in. There would be. We were talking about this because it would, the collision course of like the Eagles facing the Bills, which I think we thought about a couple years ago in the Super Bowl. They could play a Bills-Eagles regular season game at Tuesday at 4 a.m. and they would sell out.
People would still watch it, and people would still watch it. I mean, I'm addicted to it. See, I'm at the point with all the other sports. As much as I love hockey, I will only watch hockey, baseball, and basketball most of the time if it's a Philadelphia team. When it's football, I'll watch any game that's on. Now, I will watch certain games in the NBA or baseball if it's like a good matchup. Right. But I can watch, like Seattle-Chicago last night. Terrible matchup. I'm probably still tuned in. I watched a little bit of it last night only because it was a weird week. But normally, Thursday Night Football, I'm watching it no matter who's on.
Usually it's been good. It's been good football. That was really
more self-respect, please.
Terrible.
More self-respect.
Yeah.
Well, I got a lot of heat yesterday on the show, Ray, because last week the question came up, Christmas Day, 5 o'clock, were we watching Sixers Celtics or were we watching the NFL? And I said, I'd probably have the NFL on the big screen. I'll have the basketball game on the little screen. Now, it turned out to be a terrible game. The Texans only scored 2 points in that game. So I watched the NBA, thankfully, because it was a great game for the Sixers.
Great game.
Which is arguably worse than getting shut out. My brother and I were having this conversation.
Because your offense didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's more disgraceful for your team for the defense to get the only 2 points.
Nonsense 2 points.
I'd rather be shut out.
No, you wouldn't rather be shut out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
Safeties are not easy to get.
It doesn't mean it's easy to get. It's just kind of, it's a little slap in the face. Like, defense scored more points than the offense.
Do anything.
You did nothing.
I guess that's true. All right, well, let's focus on this Eagles-Cowboys matchup because it is a big game for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, the question we started the show with is this a must-win for the Philadelphia Eagles? Now, Amy thinks it's a must-win. I said I'm not going to go as far as saying it's a must-win only because if they lose on Sunday, they're still my Super Bowl team. I still think they go to the Super Bowl, but it's a lot easier of a path if they just win on Sunday and rest their guys in Week 18.
Would you feel a little bit better?
I would feel great.
Like, all right. Because now I don't think they're going to lose, but if they were to on Sunday, then you're going into the last week thinking, I think there is a thought process, and you asked us earlier, if they win, do you rest Jalen? Because obviously he's not going to play this week and whatever else. Maybe you play him for a half if you really feel like he needs, but I don't know that he needs to.
But if you play him for a half,
I don't think you do.
You're still putting your offensive line in there. You're not putting him behind a backup offensive
No, the whole crew's in.
Yeah, that's why it's either
Kenny
Pickett lead us to victory on Sunday, and then
this is your
rest
role,
everybody,
Kenny.
man.
This is your role. This is what you're here for. This is the impetus to sign you.
The impetus. So for those who've missed it, Nick Sirianni didn't know what the word impetus meant. He asked the reporter to dumb it down for him. You think he's got a 1540 on his SAT?
Coach in the world.
Ray, you think he's got a 1540 on his SAT?
Yeah.
Actually, we do have to clear something up. You weren't here last Friday. Sean Rodman produced. And they were asking in the YouTube chat if Sean had a 1540 SAT score. And he accused you of getting the 1540 out of 2,400. And I said, no,
because that's when he took it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said this was a
what?
1540 out of 1,600 for Ray.
Oh,
Dunn.
yeah.
Did you know Ray had a 1540 out of 1,600 on his SATs?
1510. We've established.
Oh, it wasn't a 15.
Yeah, we have officially established the 15.
Oh, that's a whole. You're an idiot, right?
We got the same.
1510.
I'm the dumbest producer in the world.
1510. That's it.
You missed one.
Yeah.
No, that was pretty impressive, though, isn't it? Doesn't that surprise you? Like when you talk to Ray, would you ever been like, "Wow, he's that smart"? Nah, I wouldn't have thought it.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't have thought
you're
it.
too busy trying to prove you're an attorney every 5 minutes over here.
I do get called dumb constantly. The fact that my mom's texting me during one of the breaks, I didn't know the Houston Astros were the astronauts. You're not dumb.
But do you think people call Ray dumb?
Ray dumb or Ray Dunn?
Dumb. You said people call you dumb.
No, I'm only kidding. Ray, honestly, I'm to be serious here. It doesn't surprise me that Ray had a 1,500. I think he's a very intelligent guy.
What did you get on it?
I don't remember what I got. I swear I don't remember what it was. I think it was like a 1,200. I think I got like a 1,200. I'm a smart dude.
So to be fair to Bill,
smart guy.
To be fair to Bill suffers from the whole overexposure thing. Like you think about the amount of time people consume his voice on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You're only going to eventually find a way to call him dumb.
Well, I also have been told.
So you're saying that you haven't had enough exposure yet?
I'm saying that my role is I'm more safeguarded from people thinking I'm dumb.
All right.
General Knowledge Wednesday is the one day a week where people think I'm an idiot. But like I'm more safeguarded from stupidity. Now, would I say that there are a few hills that Bill dies on that would open up the idea that he could be dumb?
That's true.
That you said that's true. So I didn't even have to finish that sentence.
Yeah, I know what you're going with.
Yeah, I mean he's
some of the.
I'm the dumbest coach in the world.
I think there's some hills that he.
Here's where I get myself in trouble though too. Is I don't necessarily have a filter sometimes.
No, not at all.
So I'll say whatever pops into my head.
I've been here for that, and I'm like, you shouldn't have.
Yeah, like, well, maybe
that.
I should have thought just a split second before I said it.
That's actually a good point. I have a filter. He doesn't.
Yeah,
That's probably what
you kind of have a
saves
stream of
me.
conscious. You kind of talk through your processes.
No filter.
Processes.
I'm an open book. What you see is what you get, Amy. You know, just no filter. But I am curious.
Concerning.
I am curious when we talk to Tim McManus coming up at 1 o'clock from ESPN. Does a great job covering the Eagles. But I want to see, are we not nervous enough? Like, I'm looking at this game against this Cowboys team, and I'm thinking, I know it's Kenny Pickett. I can't see a path where this Cowboys offense is going to be able to put up enough points against this Eagles defense to win the football game. And I know, look, turnovers can be an issue or takeaways, what the Cowboys have been really good at. But just offensively alone, with Cooper Rush at quarterback, even though he's played well, not having CeeDee Lamb, really having no rushing attack, even though, what's his name? Dowdle? Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Dowdle.
Even though Dowdle had a good game 2 weeks ago, I think last week he only put up like 30-something yards or something ridiculous. I just can't imagine that they have enough firepower offensively to put up points against the defense that outside of last week has shut everybody down.
And that's the thing. Like, you went off and we looked at the different receivers the running backs situation, the tight ends. No one's and the reason that obviously their numbers aren't that good is because they do have CeeDee Lamb. Even if they were going to be able to, and now they've had a whole week to practice life without CeeDee Lamb, it's just not the dynamic nature of their offense is gone. They had a very dynamic, exceptionally skilled player who makes good things happen. He has a catch radius like an A.J. Brown type of vibe, right? You throw something near him, he's going to catch it. He's spectacular. CeeDee Lamb is great. I got why they gave him a big contract. I thought it was weird that they were hemming and hawing on that.
He's one of the best receivers.
I would have given it to him more than I would have given it to Dak, but that's neither here nor there. Thanks for doing that. Also, keep Mike McCarthy forever. But their one-dimensional nature. It's not just it's not even one-dimensional. It's just bland. It's a very vanilla offense now without CeeDee Lamb. So I just don't understand how they're going to be having. For the Eagles, this should be a team where you should be able to put them away early and make it comfortable.
Yeah, maybe we're talking about resting the starters in the second half, too, against the Cowboys. That'd be nice.
Let's just keep everybody.
I'll take that. But no, you're right. When you say one-dimensional, Amy, I mean, you're not wrong. You look at the rushing yards. They're 28th in the NFL. They only average 95 yards a game on the ground. Now, they are top 10 in receiving, but that's all CeeDee Lamb. And we've talked a lot about this Eagles team and how much better their record is with A.J. Brown versus without it. And that's with having a 1A like Devontae Smith. The Cowboys don't have that. So I just don't see them having enough firepower. But we're going to talk to Tim McManus from ESPN coming up next. You're definitely going to want to tune in for that.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Wraps for Pickett. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Mattress Firm. Score deep discounts and deeper sleep during Mattress Firm's semi-annual sale and clearance. Get up to 60% off select mattresses and more. Plus, get a free adjustable base on qualifying purchases. Eagles get set to host the Cowboys on Sunday at 1 o'clock, and it looks like it will be Kenny Pickett that gets the start for the Eagles. How do we know that? 1, Jalen Hurts apparently not out there at practice right now. 2, Nick Sirianni met with the media at in the 11 o'clock hour, had this to say.
He's still in the protocol. It's going to be tough for him to make it this week.
Looks like it'll be a battle of backup quarterbacks on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. Cooper Rush getting the start once more for the Cowboys, and for the Eagles, it'll be Kenny Pickett running the show. Elsewhere for the Cowboys, they will be without wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, who is now out for the season with a shoulder injury. So certainly a little different look to Eagles-Cowboys than what we expected back when this schedule came out, and even what we expected a couple months ago. But again, Eagles-Cowboys, 1 o'clock, Lincoln Financial Field. The Eagles a chance to clinch the NFC East with a win in that one. Elsewhere in Philadelphia, the 76ers getting ready to get back into action. They're head out west. They're playing tomorrow at 9:30 against the Jazz. Flyers also making their way out west. They got the Ducks Saturday at 4 o'clock. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Happy holidays from the Fanatic family to yours. 975thefanatic.com.
Rock your body, yeah. Everybody, yeah. Rock your body right.
Backstreet's back. All right. Is this for me or Tim McManus, Ray?
Oh, this is for you. We didn't get the Mike eye roll for this song, so I want to make sure you got it in all its glory today.
Honestly, half the people, no, 70% of the people listening just sang along to that song. Stop it.
So every single return song coming out of the breaks was Mike's selections, but I think this one is just for me.
You.
This one
I know
was,
he hates the song.
This one was put in just because it was Backstreet's back, and I had it there for the first day where, Mike's back.
Yeah.
And then you just really vibed to it, so I was like,
Yeah.
we'll leave it in there.
That's locked
Throw
in
Bill a
now.
bone.
Now, before we go to Tim McManus, a bigger question here. Backstreet or NSYNC? Who you got, Amy?
Well, none of them, but I guess NSYNC.
Yeah, I was more NSYNC. Come on. JT? Justin Timberlake?
See, he wasn't even the best singer in NSYNC, though.
Who was? JC Chauvet?
Chazé, but yes.
Whatever his name was. All right, we got more important things to talk
Tim,
about.
we'll get Tim's weigh in on this.
We'll get Tim to weigh in.
Tim's like, do not ask me about this.
But joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline, does a great job covering the Eagles for ESPN. He joins us every Football Friday. My man, Tim McManus. What's going on, Tim?
I thought Ray gave me an intro song without discussing it with me first.
That would be a great intro song for Tim
would.
McManus.
We can work on
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah, we'll get you one.
There you go.
All right, Tim, it's Cowboys week. Doesn't feel like it, but it's a big game for the Philadelphia Eagles. If they win, they clinch the NFC East, but it's looking more and more like they're going to have to do it with backup quarterback Kenny Pickett. What can we expect now that there's been a full week of preparing for Kenny Pickett as the starting quarterback?
I mean, you hope that it's a little bit better, cleaner of an operation than what we saw against the Commanders. I honestly didn't think that Pickett was that bad. I mean, given the circumstances. You think about it going even back to training camp. He's not getting reps with the first team. He's coming in cold, hasn't played all season. Throws the first pass as a completion, throws a touchdown on that opening series for him. And then, of course, there were some ups and downs after that, including that key pick. So it wasn't a great performance by him, but given the circumstances, you understand why it wouldn't be like this awesome debut for Kenny Pickett. But now he's been getting the first team reps all week. Jalen Hurts remains in the concussion protocol, and Pickett's been in there. And the way that Saquon Barkley said it this week is that he's got 10 guys that believe in him. And, this is a pretty good situation for a backup quarterback to come into with this kind of offensive line and the MVP candidate in the backfield, a couple of good wide receivers. And so you would expect the timing to be a little bit better, for the operation to be a little bit crisper as he goes into his first start with the Eagles.
Yeah, and Tim, you mentioned it. Obviously, having Saquon Barkley back there is a huge thing for any quarterback, but especially a backup quarterback thrust in this position. How much do you think they're going to ride Barkley? Because, yes, the record is one thing, but also getting this offense humming, it runs better when you're running the ball. That's just how we've seen it, certainly on that 10-game winning streak. With now Pickett back there, do you think they go to Barkley a little bit more, or do they try to keep it even?
I mean, no question they're going to be leaning on him, Amy, and why not? It's worked so well. It's become kind of the team's identity, and Barkley is going for that rushing title. I don't know how much that incentivizes Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni, but it's out there in the ether. And yeah, I think that they are definitely going to try to find ways to crack him open. I mean, it was much easier when Hurts was there, and you have that +1 threat that defenses have to account for, and I think we saw a pretty drastic change once Pickett went into the game against Washington, where the Commanders were really just able to key in on Barkley. And aside from that long run, they really bottled him up, but particularly in that second half. And so I would expect that Dallas would have a similar game plan, just make Kenny Pickett prove that he can, that he can do it. And especially with the rib injury, like if he takes a wrong pop from Micah Parsons, I mean, that could end up being a long day for him. So I think, for all reasons, it makes sense to make Saquon Barkley the feature here.
And the Eagles aren't the only one with a backup quarterback. Obviously, Cooper Rush for the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of Eagles fans remember in that first matchup, Rush didn't look good. They only put up 6 points. But in their last 5, 27 points a game. They've won 4 out of 5, but no CeeDee Lamb. So I look at this Cowboys offense. Do they have any firepower to try to keep up with this Eagles team on Sunday?
Yeah, it's really hard to find it, and I wonder how this game would have flown if Lamb is in this one, and I think it would be a pretty even matchup given it is the battle of these backup quarterbacks and the fact that the Cowboys have been playing better now that they have Parsons back on defense. They've been more solid there. Rush hasn't really been turning the ball over, and Lamb is a dynamic weapon, as we know, but now it becomes, you got Rico Dowdle in the backfield, Ferguson as your tight end, maybe you can get Turpin involved, the great special teams player to maybe break one for the Cowboys, but there's just not a whole lot of juice there. So it's, even though the Eagles aren't coming off their best defensive performance, yes, they had the 5 takeaways, but giving up the 36 points, not the way it's gone under Vic Fangio. But this is a prime opportunity for them to have a bounce-back performance against an undermanned Dallas attack.
Yeah, you mentioned the defense, and Bill had the stats earlier about 4 plays of 20 yards. You would think that that's not going to be the case just because there isn't that firepower on the other side. But how much do they have to guard against just not taking a step back, period, and trying to keep that same pressure? Because when you're playing a team that on paper does not match up well with you, I feel like regardless of what you're going to say all week, you're going to say the right things. It's hard not to think we should feast on this one. Do you think Vic Fangio has to send an extra message because maybe they had such a bad game last week that it could be easier for them to focus on a team that's does not match up well with them on paper?
Yeah, it's a good question, and Fangio said that these kind of performances, like the one they had against Washington, come up during the course of the season, and the defense has to be able to bounce back, and he believes that this group is going to be able to do that. But it is kind of a test here because they have been so good for so long, and this applies not just to the defense but the team at large, where they're just cruising, and that they're in that 10-game win streak, and then they hit a rough patch, and this Eagles defense hits a rough patch in particular. Now, are they able to sort of bounce back? And also, I think that discipline is something that's coming up more and more as we get later into the season. We've had 2 straight weeks now, whether it's Jalen Carter with his unsportsmanlikes, and then Sirianni going after him on the sideline, and then we had last week with C.J. Gardner-Johnson getting ejected and Jalen Carter getting another unsportsmanlike. Like there is this line that they've been towing all year, and now you kind of wonder whether they're getting a reputation around the league. So this is more important kind of broadly as they enter the playoffs than it is for this particular matchup. But because of the personnel for Dallas, it shouldn't be that tough. But, you have to make sure that you're towing that line and not going over it, because if you end up getting an ejection or a big penalty in a big moment against a good playoff team, that could end up being the end of this Eagles team.
We're talking to Tim McManus from ESPN on the Comcast Business Hotline. Tim, you've been covering this Eagles team for a long time. Did you ever expect to see Deshaun Jackson would be named the head coach of a college football program? Did you ever see that one coming?
Let me tell you something. This has been the talking point in the media house over the last 2 days. And I saw it come up from Pete Thamel, who, of course, is an excellent ESPN reporter, and it had the blue check mark and everything, and I was like, it's still fake. It's got
there's no way.
there's
Mike Vick's one thing, but no way.
Yeah, I am so fascinated. I want to get on his staff. I want to be around this, whatever it looks like. And Mike Vick and Deshaun are going to basically be playing each other,
yeah,
right?
Yes, exact same conference.
I mean, this is unbelievable. I'm thinking about changing beats.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be entertainment.
That was crazy.
Pure entertainment.
That was crazy. This is the new thing. It's like I equated it to that one time where the whole, when you kick it off and you're trying to win the game, you're doing a bunch of laterals. It worked one time. They saw, let's just start hiring former players that have never coached and see how that works out for us. But good luck to them. It'll be a lot of fun. Those guys certainly have a lot of swag, I guess we're going to say, on the sidelines for those games.
Yeah, well,
oh my God,
yeah, they're winning the headline.
It worked for Dion, so
it worked for Dion.
Work for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I can picture Vic though, right, guys? I can picture Vic being the head coach and doing very well,
commanding a room. You and I, we've seen him in the locker room. There's just no way. I don't see how that's going to. We see him on his podcast now.
Yeah, and let's be honest, attendance at practice, not always
he
the best
came.
during the play days. What's it going to look like as the head coach?
What's his media availability going to look like? He always enjoyed those as well.
Must-watch TV.
Oh, it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, it will be must-watch TV. All right, Tim, last one for you. This line has been moving around like crazy. The Eagles-Cowboys line opened up. The Eagles were 10-point favorites. Then it was 9.5. Then it went all the way down to 6.5. I'm looking now; it's at 7. I mean, how do you predict what's going to happen on Sunday? Do you think the Eagles win this one, and do they cover that 7 points?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to win. I mean, the only real thing that you could see happening from Dallas's perspective is if they were to get the turnovers, if it's Micah Parsons strip sack, if Pickett gets knocked out of the game, if special teams, which wasn't great against the Commanders, let's be honest about it, and weren't doing very well with their kickoffs in the cold, and now they're going up against the most potent returner in the NFL. Like, if those kind of things go sideways on the Eagles, then that's the formula for Dallas to come out with a win. And the Eagles have to be very careful not to go down some kind of slippery slope here and start getting memories of the 2023 season creeping into their head. Like, they need to stabilize with or without their QB1 and make sure they get on the winning track. And this is an opportunity to clinch the division, not have to worry very much about what Week 18 looks like, and to rest their players so that they're going into the playoffs on a healthy note. It becomes a pretty big game in this point, and I think that because the Cowboys are so undermanned that the Eagles should be able to take care of business, and I see them winning by about 10 points.
All right, Tim, we appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you again on Sunday for the pregame show, but you enjoy tomorrow, and we appreciate you always checking in.
Thanks, Tim.
Always a pleasure, guys. See ya.
All right, Tim McManus from ESPN does a great job. But, yeah, Amy, I want to talk more about the Deshaun Jackson thing coming up next, because I was blown away.
It has worked at times.
It has with other players, but you heard Tim say it. They thought it was a joke. They had to check to see, wait, is this serious?
Listen, because we've covered Deshaun Jackson, and it doesn't strike me as somebody that's going to be interested in that. Listen, I'm sure he obviously knows football. He went to Berkeley, for Pete's sake, right? We're all good on that. But it doesn't strike me as something that he wants to do with his time.
Oh, we'll find out soon enough.
I was wrong. He thought Del State, let's go, let's roll.
Yes, we'll talk more about that. We'll also talk more about the Eagles and Cowboys. Get to more of your predictions, 610-632-0975. It's a Football Friday on the Mike Missanelli Show.
Happy holidays from the Fanatic family to yours.
finished out against the Commanders. It's like on paper, yes, all is not lost if they don't win the game because the division is still there. They can still get positive momentum going into the postseason. But seriously, you don't want to lose to this stinking Cowboys team, not after what happened last week and not after what happened last season. So I just think that, yeah, on paper, no, it's not technically a must-win, but you better win this freaking game.
The Mike Missanelli Show Holding Court is brought to you by Grunko Law, your law firm when you need help because of an injury. We treat every case like it's Dallas Week. Pray for peace, prepare for trial. Now back to Mike Missanelli on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
So there was Amy's expert analysis. You better win the freaking game. And I'm right there with you, Amy.
It's like, come on. What are we doing here, kids?
No,
what are we doing?
I'm right there with you. I do think it's such an important game. It just would put everything to rest because the noise, you're starting to hear some whispers of some fans who are nervous because of the way they lost against the Commanders last week.
But I think if you really, I thought you illuminated it really well. If you take a step back, and yes, last week was not ideal, but that's a decent team with a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? They have actual functioning offensive parts that you thought, okay, yeah. This Cooper Rush, Ferguson, Dowdle. I mean, no. You don't look at that and think, wow, that's fearful.
The only way that I could see the Eagles losing this game, and I'm not expecting this to happen, would be that Kenny Pickett comes out.
Right, and he makes a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, and he just plays a terrible game. But you heard Tim McManus, who joined us a few minutes ago, say he didn't think Pickett played that poorly against the Commanders. And I agree. I think coming in cold when you're not taking the first-team reps, the game plan isn't revolving around you, I don't think he played terribly. Now, if Jalen Hurts played in that game, they win probably 50-21. But Kenny Pickett did enough to win that football game. They lost because the defense fell apart in the fourth quarter, letting up 22 points. So I'm expecting Kenny Pickett to play well enough on Sunday for them to win. But we'll see how all that goes. I do want to get back to talking about this Deshaun Jackson thing in a second, but I got to get to my favorite caller because he wants to talk about Kenny Pickett. He's also my favorite caller because he usually takes a shot at Ray Dunn. Yeah. My man Ish from Levittown. Ish, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, Bill? How was your holiday?
It was excellent, man. How about you?
Hey, it was okay. It wasn't too bad. How are you, Amy?
I'm well, Ish. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to talk. I think Kenny Pickett, I think he's going to be serviceable. I think we're going to win the game. I don't really have any fears about Sunday. So that's my thought about it. I think, we run with Saquon and then pass to the wide receivers, and AJ and Devontae have to come in the game and do well.
All right, Ish, let me ask you then. If they win on Sunday, you resting everybody next week? Just giving them the week off?
Yes, you have to. Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
At that point, you have to. Yeah.
You have anything for Ray?
Yeah, I was going to ask Ray, how was your holiday?
That's nice.
Wonderful-ish.
I heard you was building snowman and you was sitting inside an igloo and with your little hand warmers on. With your
Ish, where do you think I was for the holiday? I had 2 days. Did you see snow on the ground?
Yeah, there was. It snowed a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. Enough to make a snowman, enough to build an igloo.
Using a Pokemon.
Ish, I need you to go stronger with this, all right?
Yeah, Ish, we're going to get you new content.
Right.
I want you to come at me with some good content here, Ish.
Yeah.
Don't disappoint me with the jokes.
Oh,
all right. You know what I'm going to do for Ish is I'm going to dig up some dirt, and I'll reveal it on the air next week about Ray so that Ish has some new material he can go after. So I think Amy missed what he's talking about. Is Ray bought a jacket that came with the scarf already attached to the jacket. So I made fun of Ray for that. So then Ish has been really hammering that home. That
when I received the jacket, I also received the scarf.
Yeah, the scarf.
Whether or not they were purchased together in conjunction, I don't know.
Oh, it was a gift. You didn't say it was a gift.
I said it was a gift. You have a little bit of a...
Maybe I intentionally blocked the
hearing difficulty.
Is it a fancy jacket?
A nice jacket. Long jacket.
I mean, like it's, sometimes the scarves come with them or just a kind of pair. Yeah. Kind of like the complete look.
Well, Ish thinks that not only did the jacket come with a scarf, it also came with mittens that were attached. Oh. And that's why he always makes fun of Ray.
Yeah, I just needed a little bit of a stronger... You come after me, like...
Yeah, you got to come strong. Like, if you're going to have it.
If you're going to...
I always appreciate the effort. I appreciate the effort.
No.
I do.
That was lackluster.
But I want to get back to this Deshaun Jackson thing before we continue the Eagles-Cowboys conversation. Because anyone that followed the Philadelphia Eagles, as much as you love Deshaun Jackson, he's one of my favorite Eagles of all time. The explosiveness with which he played was unbelievable. He was just a great wide receiver. His career here never should have ended the way it did with Chip Kelly not even trading him, cutting him, getting nothing for him in his prime. And then by the time Deshaun Jackson came back, he was older. He ends up having that hamstring injury. Really wasn't the same after that. But head coach, Amy? Head coach of Delaware State?
I will say, and the one thing we talked about is all right, so this is not new. Well, Deshaun Jackson is just the latest iteration of former players without head coaching experience have gone on to be head coaches. And a lot of them at just the HBCUs have done it. We go back to, obviously, Deion at Jackson State. Look no further than Tennessee State with Eddie George. And Mike Vick obviously just taking a job at Norfolk State, near where he grew up. And you brought up the point, like, it seems like Mike Vick had matured. I will say, having interviewed Deshaun Jackson when he played here in 2010, 2009, and then interviewing him when he was inducted into the ring last season, he's obviously matured. Then you listen to his podcast and you think, okay, maybe not all the way. But still, I do think he'll be relatable to the players.
Yeah.
Hard not to relate to a guy. And he's coaching at Del State, so they certainly are going to be familiar with his work. It's just interesting because there's just a lot that goes. We're talking about coaches like leaving nowadays, and here's guys that have all kinds of stuff going on in their lives, and they think, you know what I want to get into? This.
Yeah, I was looking at Delaware State's record. I guess they're looking at it too and saying, well, how much worse can things get?
And you're talking about Del State. You and I talked about this 2 weeks ago when you said, why would UNC hire Bill Belichick? I'm like, you've never talked about UNC football in your life.
You're right, and now we're talking about Del State.
I have to call my guy. I know a former Del State football player. I'm going to have to call Bill Griggs. Bill Griggs, if you're listening or if someone's listening, tell Bill I'm going to reach out and see what he thinks about it. He's my Del State Hornet.
We want your opinion as an alumni. But Delaware State 1-11 last year.
Yeah, see, there you go.
They have not finished above 500 since 2012. So you're going on almost 13 seasons now, and that was only a 6-5 record. So, look, you bring in a high-profile guy like Deshaun Jackson. You got us talking about it. Maybe you get some players in there, some bigger-name players who want to come and get some publicity. So, hey, I'm wishing him the best. I'm surprised by it, but
the press conferences are going to be amazing.
Did anyone see this Andy Reid quote on it?
No.
Andy Reid?
So there's an ESPN story on this. Jackson calls Delaware State job once-in-a-lifetime shot. Here's a line from this story. Jackson's former coaches Andy Reid and Sean McVay were among those praising his hiring, with Reid saying he would, quote, stake my career on his success at Delaware State, end quote.
Wow. I don't know what that means, saying I would stake my career on it.
Also, like, what level of success?
Yeah, what's
Eddie
considered
George
successful?
They won their conference within 2 years of him being at Tennessee State. But I don't know that you really want to back that much on it. You really believe in Deshaun that much?
You know what? That's it.
Is it?
We're all Delaware State fans.
No, I'm rooting for him.
I also, and this will be, if you guys remember when, obviously, the Miracle at the Meadowlands Part 2, Mike Vick calls Deshaun Jackson Deshaun. Do you guys remember this? He's like, why would you kick it to Deshaun? He calls him Deshaun. Will he call him Deshaun? Oh, it's a tremendous quote when they're talking about why. What was the name of the punter?
Yes, the punter.
Something with a P? I can't remember. Whoever.
Oh, my God.
Coughlin, lost his mind because they kicked it to Deshaun Jackson. And after they're asking Mike Vick about it, and he said, yeah, I don't know why they would kick it to Deshaun. We were all in the newsroom. We're like, sorry, did he just call him Deshaun? So I'm just hoping that continues, that he continues to call him Deshaun when they play each other and when Norfolk State goes against Del State.
Matt Dodge.
Matt Dodge.
There it is. Yeah, I think all of Philadelphia may be tuned in for that game. Otherwise, we wouldn't care.
Absolutely going to look at the calendar when that one is.
But they're already winning these colleges because we're talking about both of them. And when was the last time we talked about either one of those schools on the Fanatic? Probably never.
I mean, Del State talks about Del State, and that might be it.
Maybe.
But now we're talking about it.
Maybe.
Let's go Del State.
All right, well, we still got to continue our Eagles-Cowboys conversation. We're coming up the home stretch. We want your predictions. You could text them in, 610-632-0975. I am curious what the listeners think. Are you worried at all about this game with Kenny Pickett under center? Do the Cowboys have enough firepower to keep up against this really good Eagles defense? So get in on your text, 610-632-0975. Our Football Friday continues right after this.
Fanatic Sports update.
Prepared for Pickett. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you can save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Eagles look like they're getting set to start Kenny Pickett at quarterback this Sunday against the Cowboys as Jalen Hurts remains in concussion protocol. No sign of Hurts when practice was open to reporters. And the 11 o'clock hour, we heard from Nick Sirianni, who offered this update on his quarterback.
He's still in the protocol. It's going to be tough for him to make it this week.
With it being tough for him to make it, we are left to assume it'll be a battle of backup quarterbacks. Cooper Rush continuing to start for the Cowboys. And then for the Eagles, it's Kenny Pickett getting the start with a chance to win the NFC East this weekend at Lincoln Financial Field. That game kicking off at 1 o'clock. The Cowboys will also be without top wide receiver in this one, C.D. Lamb. Due to a shoulder injury, he will be out for the rest of this season. Again, 1 o'clock Sunday, Lincoln Financial Field for that one between the Eagles and Cowboys. Elsewhere in Philadelphia sports, both the 76ers and Flyers headed out west. 76ers coming off of the biggest win of their season over the Celtics on Christmas. Now they match up with the Jazz tomorrow at 9:30, and the Flyers get the Ducks tomorrow at 4 o'clock. You can listen to both those games right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
34 here on the Mike Missanelli Show. We're in the home stretch of our Football Friday. Had a lot of fun today with Amy Fadul and Ray Dunn. And this 1 o'clock hour was brought to you by Ferguson HVAC Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. A big game on Sunday.
Yes.
Not a lot of buzz today. It's a weird week, as we've said several times, because it does feel very weird. Ray's headed to Birmingham, Alabama tomorrow.
UAB Blazers. No, UAB.
There you got it.
Blazers, right?
Blazers.
Who's favored in that game, Temple Women's or Birmingham?
I always think we're going to win. So
I like that. That's
nice
always
attitude,
the correct
Ray.
answer. Tell Coach Rich I say hi.
When's the next time you're on
Christmas dinner?
When's the next time you're on ESPN Plus?
End of January, I think.
Ray's going to leave us soon, Amy. You know that. We've already said it. I'm going to reach out to him in a couple of years to come on as a guest, and he's just going to ghost me. He's not even going to respond.
Be a lead play-by-play man.
Oh, I didn't see it in my email box. Sorry. That's what I
think you're going to email me?
New number, who this?
Oh, yeah. You're not, oh, yeah. I'll text you, right?
Yeah.
I'll text you.
Half the audience is like, he doesn't have his phone number?
He'll still leave me on.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll leave me on red.
Actually, don't.
I'm actually a horrible texter.
You are a terrible, for your age, you are a terrible texter.
I'm a disaster.
Well, that came with a finger point and everything.
Because I have texted him several times, and I'll get a text sometimes hours, sometimes the next day. Hey, sorry, missed this.
Well, I try
People
to
like,
leave
but
the
I do it. I
office.
see it, and then I'm just like, I'll get to you, and then sometimes I forget.
Yeah, I do that. And also, like, if you're texting me something show-related, there's a good chance if I'm, like, eating dinner, like, watching something funny, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll get back to him. And then when I do get back to show prep later on the night, I text you back.
I'm glad that all you look at me as is a show prep guy.
You're texting me about the show.
I thought we were friends, right?
Are you texting me about my personal life? Or you texting me about the show?
It's fine, Ray.
Oh, see, he doesn't have a good response. To that.
Anyway, you
Guess
know
what? It's not fine.
It clearly doesn't feel fine because he knows he's texting me about the show.
With Discovery recently.
It very hurtful, Ray. But anyway, let's talk about something that we didn't really get into today that we were all excited about, or at least I was, in the offseason when they signed Bryce Huff. The window is open. Bryce Huff may play this weekend, and I think that's important. Amy's rolling her eyes over here like, where are you going with this?
Like side-eye, like, where are we going?
And I'm going to tell you what it is.
Have you been missing Bryce Huff?
I have, because you look at this defensive line, and I've had a few people comment to me on Instagram about this, like they're too light at the edge rusher position.
That's true.
And they've really been going with a three-man rotation. Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Josh Sweat.
Right.
Charles Harris hasn't done anything since they've picked him up.
No.
I really think for this team to have some success in the playoffs, you're going to have to get something from Bryce Huff. Something. And I'm still predicting it. I said this to Andrew DeCecco this morning. I'm still expecting that Bryce Huff's going to come up with a big sack in the playoffs that's going to get everyone to say, okay, wow, okay.
This was it.
It was worth
one
it.
Play.
Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. But I'd like to see, when I talk about rest everybody, I would like to see Bryce Huff get some reps before the playoffs.
Now, I'll give you that. The sentence you said, I need him to do something. Well, I think that we've been saying that, since obviously he's signed here and you have not seen him turn into the player that they've wanted. I think that it is really a valid point as far as depth and having that extra position and running a much more of a four-man weave than the three-man weave, because for all of his warts and everything, Bryce Huff obviously is a talented and skilled player, and he does play that edge well, even if he hasn't been able to get home in the way that we wanted him to, and the expectations were there when you signed that contract and you let Hassan Reddick go. You expected him to fill that role seamlessly, and he is not. And so that's been the disappointment there. But it doesn't mean that he's not capable of that and that you haven't seen flashes of that. So for me, I haven't been missing Bryce Huff, but I will appreciate when he's back, because they obviously have done well with what they have. And I think that they've made it work. And Fangio believes in what he can get from his guys, and he throws people out there. And I'm always like, that's interesting. Oh, well, what he knows better than most. So I think that there is a time where you are going to see something from Bryce Huff, and hopefully it is something timely. But I think that he will contribute in a way that it is meaningful.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Look, you're right about Fangio. I mean, one thing that has really surprised me this season is not only the linebacker play and then the secondary. I was ready to rule Nolan Smith a bust. And I know it was an early, but I haven't seen anything.
Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, we were all ready to write them all off.
And you got all these guys playing well, but Nolan Smith, I mean, even last week when
Listen.
the defense didn't play great, I thought Nolan Smith had a pretty good game.
I watched that. We went to the Steelers game up close, and that we watched a couple different things. That's always fun when you go to the game. You kind of pick different matchups. The Lane Johnson, TJ Watt matchup was absolutely as advertised. That was tremendous. But Nolan Smith had a tremendous game. He was all over the place, and it was probably one of the first ones I really remember like watching. I was like, all right, well, he looks like he's having a good. Let's cue it, like kind of key in on him again. And he did have a good game against the Commanders too. But really, he's had probably 6 of the last 7. He's really stood out, flying around, really active on that side of the ball. And if he isn't the first guy to make contact, he's always in on the play. And that I'm with you. There was a lot of questions, even 3 weeks into the season, thinking, I don't know, maybe he's not going to, because third year's the year, maybe he ain't going to do it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pleasant surprises on the defensive side of the football, but what I'm hoping isn't a surprise on Sunday is that the Cowboys somehow win this game, because I just can't see a path to victory outside of Kenny Pickett completely falling apart, which I'm not expecting. I know Kenny Pickett's not Jalen Hurts by any means, but the guy has shown he has an ability to win in the NFL. I mean, he went, pulling up his stats now, but he's 14-10 as a starter, but in his 2 years, 7-5 as a rookie, 7-5 in 2023.
But the numbers for touchdowns and interceptions.
I know. It's not great. He had 7 TDs his rookie season, 9 interceptions, 6 TDs last year, 4 interceptions, and he's got 1 touchdown, 1 interception last week.
He is literally the picture. He's 14-14.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So just don't turn the ball over. I mean, really, that's all he has to do on Sunday, I think. If Kenny Pickett doesn't have a turnover, I think the Eagles win. I think that may be the only stat you have to see.
Agreed. Because you just can't, and I know that this isn't as skilled an offense, but they still are a professional offense. They still have guys that can function and run the team the way that they need to. Cooper Rush is not terrible. He has been a good quarterback for them the last couple of, going back really like 6 or 7 weeks at this point, but you can't give him a short field. Anybody should be able to punch it in from a short field.
Exactly, and that's the only thing. I keep looking at this team, like the Cowboys, and I'm like, all right, well, they're not going to be able to run the football. They're not going to be able to.
That was not terrible.
He's not, but you see what he did?
That's our bar.
Last week, I think he had 23 yards against the Bucs, even though they won the game. But they shouldn't be able to run the football, especially when the Eagles have a really good rushing defense, top 10 in the NFL. They shouldn't be able to throw the football because they don't have CeeDee Lamb. I don't know.
The Eagles are good against.
Yeah, and you look at their defense, they shouldn't be able to stop the Philadelphia. Even with Kenny Pickett, they're 28th against the run, 28th in yards per carry against, 32nd in red zone defense. The only area where they have excelled has been takeaways. Protect the football, and I don't see a path to victory for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, and I asked it to Tim McManus because I think that it was maybe a bit of a wake-up call because the defense had been playing so well. On paper, everything you said is just like, no. You should be able to absolutely run and pass all over this Cowboys defense. But you can't take any team lightly because of obviously the takeaways just in general. So maybe it was a good thing in like the silver lining department as far as not playing well against the Commanders.
Yeah. Well, you could look at that game, and Ray gets mad because one of the things I was nervous about was, hey, they may have to win 17 games in a row to win a Super Bowl, because if they continued to win and still didn't get the 1 seed, they would have played 17 and then had to go all the way to the Super Bowl to do it. But you look now, maybe it was a blessing, because if they win on Sunday, Week 18 no longer matters.
Exactly.
You could rest your players, whereas otherwise they would have been playing because you didn't know what was going to happen in the Lions-Viking games and all that. But, Ray, I threw out the number earlier and said I wanted people's predictions for the game on the text board. We got some predictions?
We don't have people really throwing numbers out there, but we do have some people checking in on the game itself. Anthony from Paoli, earlier in the show, you guys talked about how the Eagles defense played uncharacteristic versus the Commanders last week. I know they didn't have CJ and GJ for a lot of the game, but I think it deflates the whole team when your star quarterback gets hurt early and doesn't come back. It just puts you in a different mindset than what you had at the start of the game. They will be fine. They aren't losing out. They aren't losing the first round playoffs. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
All right, go Birds. Not losing out, not losing in the first round of the playoffs. I agree with that, too. So, I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me, I told you on Christmas, and my dad's been a little bit nervous and negative, thinking that they may lose in the first round of the playoffs. I just can't imagine it, especially if they play the Commanders again. Like I keep saying to people, I don't know why you're afraid of the Commanders. It took a last-minute drive against your backup quarterback.
And making mistakes.
Yes. It was like there were so many things that made that game what it was, and they still had to score a last-minute touchdown to beat you. If Jalen Hurts plays in that game and the defense doesn't completely fall apart with penalties and injuries and everything
People
else.
getting ejected.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, I think it was a good game, and I'm not saying it won't be still a good game, but I don't think that there's a question in my mind if the Eagles had been 100% healthy and had their full, full roster.
Just
on the actual
Jalen.
field.
Like, you probably, if Jalen plays in that game, you win.
Kenny Pickett, and they almost won.
If Chauncey Gardner-Johnson doesn't get ejected, you probably win.
Right.
If Darius Slay doesn't have the injury and then the confusion of him coming on the field with 12 men and then no one guarding the receiver, you probably win. There were so many reasons that you should have probably won that football game. That's why I'm not going to overreact.
You still needed a last-second effort from the Commanders.
Yeah, you still needed it. What else we got on the text board, Raymond?
So with 2 gloves starting on Sunday, do you think that helps the case for Saquon? He only needs 268. I hope it's a run-heavy day on Sunday and Saquon goes off for 175+. Then you got to play him week 18 and get the dang record against his old team. Go Birds.
Yeah, they talked about that. Would he want to get the record against the Giants? Because I think that one thing that we've seen with Saquon this year is that he isn't a me-first guy. He is about the team, and I think that's above all else. And he's also harbored a lot of love still for the Giants, rightfully so. Obviously, they drafted him. He was the best player for them in the last decade at this point, I think. But that's a question that I would be curious. I think you won't know the real answer until after the season is settled. But like if he really would want to get it against his former team.
Oh, I'm sure he would have loved to do it, but
I don't know that he wants to show them up.
Yeah, he is a good dude, but I don't know, having a chance to set the record against the Giants would probably mean a lot to him. I don't know, but I think this is all going to be a moot point because I don't expect Saquon Barkley to go for over 150 against the Cowboys to put it even close. And the reason why is, as bad as the Cowboys have been against the run, they're giving up 136 a game.
Right.
You saw last week when you don't have Jalen Hurts, the rushing lanes are not there as much as they were before Kenny Pickett came in.
Yeah, Tim mentioned it. It's a +1 as far as a running back goes.
Exactly.
Kenny Pickett is not a running quarterback, so there's no +1 in the defense's mind as far as what the run game's going to look like.
And I think Saquon will have a good game, but I'm thinking maybe he has 100, 125 yards, which is a really good game. But then you're 140 away. You're not even thinking about playing him
That's
against
another
the Giants.
really good game.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think so.
What do you think, Raymond? Make a prediction before we do our predictions on the game. How many rushing yards Saquon have against the Cowboys on Sunday?
96.
And then at that point,
it's over.
You're done. You're not trying to get the record in Week 18. Amy, prediction: Saquon Barkley's rushing yards.
148.
Ooh,
wow.
So then you would need how many in the last game?
What's he, 248 away?
He's 268.
268, so 120.
Right, he's only 268.
Then you have to play him.
No, you can't play him for 128.
I'm really.
I just like to
this is like a
drama.
seesaw for me. The Saquon debate. I'm horrible at this.
It's a win-win, though.
So I'm saying he's going for $110. He'll still be $158 away, and then it's
That's too much.
too many yards. We're not going to do
I
it.
think he gets close enough that it's a conversation.
He goes for 210 yards.
Yes, and then they sit him.
I'll tell you what.
And Dickerson pops champagne bottles.
You know what would be great about that? They'll give us a lot to talk about next week.
He goes for 210. They sit him, and everyone wants Sirianni fired because he didn't let him go for the record.
Stop with the Sirianni talk. It's time for closing arguments.
Now, closing arguments on the Mike Missanelli Show. Brought to you by Lowenthal and Abrams Injury Attorneys. Injured in an accident, call 800-876-LAWYER or visit LowenthalAbrams.com.
All right, big game on Sunday. Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys. As of right now, they are a 7-point favorite. I think that line will continue to move around a little bit before kickoff. But don't worry. This is going to be a game where the Philadelphia Eagles win, and I think they win easily. I don't think the Cowboys have enough on offense to be able to put up points against the best defense in the NFL. I know they had the hiccup last week in the fourth quarter against the Commanders, but they are still the number one defense in the NFL, only giving up 282 yards a game. They're top 5, giving up only 18.9 points per game. And the Cowboys aren't going to be able to put up a lot of points. I have the Cowboys only putting up 13 points in this football game. And I think Kenny Pickett will do enough, along with Saquon Barkley and the weapons on the outside, to put up 27. I got the Eagles winning this game easily, 27-13, NFC East champs, and we rest everybody next week. What you got, Amy?
Okay, I think that this is an easy win for the Birds. I think they are in control. I think they turn over Cooper Rush at least twice. And what was the line?
Right now it's 7, but it's moving around.
Yeah, I think they win by 10. I think they take the starters out in the fourth quarter. So I'm going to give me 27. You know what? No, 27-14.
27-14, Amy Fadul. Ray, you got a prediction for us?
20-10.
Oh,
Ugly.
you going with the 10?
Ugly football.
Yeah. I went a little bit higher than 10.
2010 Eagles or Cowboys, Ray?
Eagles.
Oh.
I'm
Ugly.
just kidding.
Very ugly football. You're not going to walk away from that game feeling good about what you did with your afternoon.
I think it's not going to be as ugly as you think. I'm predicting a nice game from Kenny Pickett. I think he's going to have a nice, clean, efficient football game. They're going to lean on the run, but Kenny Pickett will do enough in the air, get the ball to his weapons in space, let them make some plays for you.
Very clear distinction here. Nice Kenny Pickett game or a nice game for Kenny Pickett?
Oh, I'd say a nice Kenny Pickett game.
Yeah, nice game for Kenny Pickett. I'm going to say he throws.
No, it's a nice Kenny Pickett game.
It's a nice Kenny Pickett game.
Nice Kenny Pickett game.
They win the game. That's a nice Kenny Pickett game.
That's what we mean.
Yeah. He'll throw for under 200 yards, but it'll be very efficient. Throw a touchdown in there as well. So that's what I'm doing.
Who
I think
catches
defense
it?
scores.
A.J. Brown gets the touchdown
I
from
got
Kenny
Devontae.
Pickett this weekend. But big thank you to everybody. I know it's a weird day. Not a lot of people are working, so we do appreciate you tuning in to listen to our Football Friday show. Big thank you to Amy Fadul, who spent all 4 hours with us. She'll be with us again on Monday as we get to react to what happened. But make sure you keep it here. You got a nice show coming up after this. Kevin Cooney along with Andrew DeCecco and Silvana Kelleher. And then this weekend on Sunday, I got you 9 o'clock down at Xfinity Live. We'll get you ready for kickoff from 9 to 1. You'll have me, DeCecco, Connor Thomas, Andrew Salciunas, Tim McManus will be checking in for our Birds Insider pregame stuff. But everybody have a great weekend.